Прийшли окупанти до нас в Україну, форма новенька, воєнні машини, та трохи поплавився їх інвентар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російські танкісти сховались з кущі, щоб лаптем посьорбати довбані щі, та трохи у чах перегрівся навар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Приперли зі сходу до нас барани для восстановлення
великої страни.
Найкращий пастух баранячий хотар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Хто воде всяке озброєння різне, потужні ракети, машини залізні, у нас на всі доводи є коментар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Вони захопити хотіли нас зразу, а ми зачаїли на орків образу з російських бандитів, робить примар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Російська поліція справи заводить, там вбивцю рашистів ніяк не знаходить, хто винен, що в нашому полі глухар. Байрактар, Байрактар. Веде пропаганду кремлівський урод, слова пропаганди ковтає народ, тепер нове слово знає цар.
Байрактар.
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 Yes.
The Leaf Street Army sends its regards.
О, бля! Игорь!
Hello, everyone. I'm the Enforcer, and I'm accompanied by Enforcer Matt.
And good evening, folks. It's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to day 381 of the news. And it's good to see you all once again.
And of course, we're going to be covering the past 24 hours of the news of the war in Ukraine as the Amerifatties help the Ukrainians through military support and also through our expertise in helping them to push the Russians back little by little, man by man, out of Ukraine. Speaking of the Amerifatti, Matthew, I've got to say, I've been adding on quite an excessive amount of pounds lately, and I think, Matthew, you have too, if I'm correct.
I believe so.
I believe so, and we've been adding on some true weight into our merch lineup. A lot of our channel over the past few months has never had any kind of merch runs or anything similar. We've pretty much dropped those off the face of the earth, especially since the podcast setup took up a lot of our time in the background. But believe it or not, we are tacking on the pounds again, and this time the Amerifatti merch, a limited edition merch run on the Amerifatti, will be running on this upcoming Tuesday. We wanted to share that with all of y'all. Matthew's made a really good design. We already have it in the works, and this time we're introducing an entirely new item. We've never had this one on the store before. We're actually going to have embroidered baseball caps.
Yes, trucker caps to be precise.
Trucker caps, you know, the good kind. So make sure to go to enforcerstore.com this upcoming Tuesday and get yourself an Amerifatti t-shirt, hoodie, baseball cap, a mug, whatever you want. Make sure to get one because, of course, it spites the Russian bot, one, and two, it's actually supporting this channel off of a joke that a Russian bot made, and I have to say, although it was a Russian bot, that was the funniest slander or roast that I've ever seen come from a bot before, and so we had to make sure to memorialize that one because it was a notch above the rest. But moving on from that,
I'm just waiting. I'm waiting from the email from the bot that he wants royalties. He's not getting them.
He ain't getting any. He ain't getting none. We saw that, and I said dibs, and then we put it on a shirt. So with that, we're now going to be moving on into tonight's news, and I've got to tell y'all some very interesting stuff has been going on across Ukraine, and not just in Ukraine, but of course inside of Russia. Much like Matthew and me, who cover the news of the war in Ukraine here in the United States, there are a lot of Russian news networks, pretty much all of them at this point, that cover the ongoing war in Ukraine from the Russian perspective. And one thing that I saw today that I got a huge kick out of, and I gotta tell y'all, it's a massive one, is that there is this news network over there that y'all may have heard of before. And let me make sure I get the name correct. The SPAS. Yeah, it's the SPAS. Because the people who work at this news channel, they know what they are. They're a bunch of spazzes. And so they named their news network Spaz. And it was on fire today. And we got a video from the Moscow Fire Department showing them inside the building, getting ready to try and extinguish the fire inside the Spaz news building. We can hear the dive siren going off in the background. It's apparently also the, what the hell is that disaster with that sub? The Kursk disaster. And we can see the fire coming out of the building on the outside.
А вот и дым пошел. Пожарные приехали.
Now, from this video, it would seem that the response was kind of small, with only one fire truck showing up and just a few little bits of smoke coming out of the top. But interestingly enough, this fire apparently was a lot more severe or a lot more dangerous than we thought it was, because the entire fire brigade of the city of Moscow came to this building, and we got to see a video clip of about maybe 30 fire trucks out there near that building going in to put out the blaze. The entire city is here.
How many Russians does it take to put out a fire?
The whole damn country. So that's the end of the clip, and you know something serious when they go call them. You know something serious when they call in more fire brigades than they did for Chernobyl at this news network. This is an amazing amount of fire units that have shown up to this. And of course, I don't know if this is normal for metropolitan cities or something like that, but still absolutely hilarious to see so many of them showed up. So many of them aren't even close to the building. which is another interesting note. And on top of that, it looks like the spazzes are going to be spazzing out a little, because while they're going to have to be repairing their building from fire damage, the Amerifatties over here in the Lee Spring Army are just going to keep trucking and keep covering the news. Unfortunate for them, and I just hope that they stay down and out for a good while. With that, we're now going to be moving out of Russia, or at least Moscow for that matter, and on into the northern Ukrainian border area around the Kursk and Bryansk oblasts inside of the Russian Federation, because we saw a unit that we haven't been hearing about much, but we're starting to hear about a little bit more. Started to get back into the action, but not in that frontline action that we've seen around Svatove, or Bakhmut, or Volodar, or the Zaporizhia front. We've seen these guys going around on the Ukrainian-Russian border and taking out observation posts. So here we go. It is, of course, the Kraken, and they're back at it and destroying observation towers and outposts near the Bryansk and Kursk borders. And so, without further ado, let's get into that bussing music, which our stream got copyrighted for last night somehow, and let's see them take out these observation posts. Now, I don't know what it's saying, but for some reason the little orange growing circles make it seem like it's a medicine commercial. Have you ever taken Trelezic? Or something like that. But anyways, we can see the Russian border right there. We can see them zooming in on the first observation post right there. You see him pointing out, he's like, look, it's an observation post. And yep, there it is. The drone is looking. Not really that good of an observation post if it can't see the drone flying right in front of it. But I would assume that that would just be expected. We're now looking at the border a little bit more. We can see some Ukrainians driving in a truck near the area and firing an ATGM right at the observation tower, hitting it and taking it out. They're now moving on to the next observation post, or I guess you could say border checkpoint, on the Ukrainian-Russian border. We can see them taking a good gander at it and hitting the next observation post, taking that one out as well. And so with that, that's the end of the clip, but you can see that the Kraken unit is starting to go behind the lines and do some of those very neat little things that you see here and there that don't really affect the war as it's going on the battlefields right now, but do affect Russia's ability to gain intelligence or surveillance on Ukrainian forces in those areas, which may give them a little bit of an upper hand or an advantage. And so great to see, and it's good to know that the Kraken unit is going around and taking care of those observation posts. And speaking of which, speaking of borders in between countries, the border in between Belarus and Poland is once again having a little bit of an interesting thing going on. In case of y'all don't know about this situation that happened pretty much several years ago, around the time of 2020 or so, the Belarusians and the Polish have been having a little bit of a border crisis issue for the past few years that was brought on by the Belarusian government and Lukashenko to try and put pressure on the Poles to do something that the Belarusians wanted. And so what the Belarusians did is that they took their state-run airlines and they sent them to the Middle East, mostly to Syria and Iraq, and they said, hey, look at this. There are these cheap airfares. They're like $20 per person to fly from Syria or Iraq to Belarus, and you'll be able to live a good life in Europe. So a lot of Syrians and Iraqis took up these offers, hopped on these planes, and then flew to Belarus. The Belarusians lied to them first off, and saying they would have a good life in Europe, because the Belarusians had no intention on actually taking care of these people. What they did is, as soon as they landed at the airport, they loaded them onto buses, drove them over to the Belarusian-Polish border, dropped them off there with no supplies, nothing. They literally just dropped them off in the woods near the border and told them, go that way and there's Poland, go over to Poland. So they started trying to flow over into Poland. The Polish weren't too happy about this, so then they started to pull up border security forces onto the border to try and stop these folks from crossing. The Belarusians then got behind these Syrian and Iraqi immigrants pretty much and started aiming guns at them and saying, you must charge head on into the Polish border security. So then they got stuck in a loop, and a lot of them are still stuck in this loop to this day, where they run into Polish border security forces, they bounce off of them and then run right back into pretty much Belarusian barrier forces, and then they get bounced right off of them and back towards the Polish. And we've seen today that the Belarusians appear to be taking a little bit more of an active stance in trying to get these immigrants across the border from Belarus to Poland. Keep in mind, this is, if you get into the exact, I guess you could say, story of how this happened, this isn't really a humanitarian thing. The Belarusians in, I guess you could say this clip were trying to, I guess you could say, overpower the Polish in one form or another to try and get concessions from the Poles. It hasn't really worked. It hasn't worked over the course of years. And interestingly enough, the video isn't loading either. So unfortunately, we won't be able to watch it. But that is a situation that is still ongoing at this point. It's been ongoing for years. And of course, doesn't make Belarusian and Polish relations, or for that matter, Western European and Eastern European relations, any better than they have been. And so with that, we're now moving on from the Belarusian news and the Russian news and on into Ukraine itself. We've seen something fairly interesting today, and this is a very old clip. Pretty much from the same time last year, but we never saw it. A lot of the Russians, of course, withdrew from the northern Kyiv areas in Ukraine about late March or early April of last year. It's been nearly a year since that northern offensive completely failed and they retreated from the country. One thing that happened in this area, which I think is kind of funny, is that they left behind loads of equipment, loads of supply trucks, loads of tanks, and also some helicopters as well. And some of these were left at the Hostomel airport. Many of y'all may remember that the Battle of the Hostomel Airport was one of the first battles to ever occur on Ukrainian soil and led to a Ukrainian victory before the main column that was coming down the highway from, from Ivankiv, pushed down towards the Hostomel Airport from Demidov, and then pushed the Ukrainians back through the Bucha-Hostomel airport area and out into the outskirts of Kyiv. This is something that lasted for about 3 weeks, and then the Russians, of course, began to withdraw. However, they were not able to take all of their equipment with them, like I just said, and we saw a video here that we never saw until today of the Russians actually blowing up some of their helicopters because they couldn't take the helicopters with them. So here's a little clip of that happening. Indeed, bled, Matthew. I do magic trick. Look, I make MIA disappear. Blame.
Oh.
What the hell was it carrying? Like office work? Hey man, hey Gary, bled, I need you to file that paperwork. Yeah, we just blew it up, man. And then the papers come flying out the helicopter. I don't know if the Russians...
Surely that wasn't Russian strategy because they don't have any.
Wait a minute, Matthew, when they blew it up, the commander's sitting there, and the little, Mobics are sitting there, Commander, Commissar, we're ready to blow up the helicopter. Blow it up, and then the commander said, wait! My battle planes! And then the battle planes just went flying everywhere, and that's like they've been losing the war ever since, just because the battle planes are gone.
That's him yelling about it.
He's like, bleh, we forgot the plans.
Yeah, but
I don't know if the Ukrainians or the Russians are filming this.
I think it might be the Ukrainians, actually.
Yeah, I think it may be the Ukrainians filming this. But there's just about nothing left of that helicopter anymore, and the fire will consume the rest of it. We can see a little helicopter blade, though, sticking out of the fire. Man, that thing is toasting. And so with that, that's the end of the clip. But not only did you get to watch a Russian helicopter explode, you also got to see all of the remaining toilet paper in the entirety of the Russian Federation blow out of it when it blew up. All in all, not that bad. And I gotta say, a pretty rare little clip right there. Of course, a year old. But nonetheless, we've never seen this thing before. And really crazy and wild to think that so much of this equipment was left behind by the Russians and they weren't able to take it with them. Sounds kind of reminiscent of something else in another part of the world that happened just about a year before this happened. But nonetheless, still very interesting to see. With that, we're now going to be moving on from that little bit of news north of Kyiv and on into our location unknowns. And we actually have a fairly decent amount of them. We have 6 of them today. So let's get right into them, starting off with our first clip, where we saw a trench ammunition cache going up in flames. And so, you can hear the bussing tunes there. It sounds like country music. You can hear the grenade, or we'll see it dropping into the foxhole. And then, just to make it a little bit more suspenseful, the video loaded for a second. Then the grenade blew up, and the ammunition started smoking up. And man, I don't know if that is a nice wood fire or if that's ammunition, because it's got a slow burn to it. It's almost like a big bonfire or something like that. But with that, that's the end of the clip. And really nice to see that they were able to get that little ammunition stash inside of that trench. And with that, we're moving on to our next clip, where we also saw an FPV drone hitting a tank. Very unique, very special. Let's check it out and see what they were able to do. Now, I have a feeling this is in the Marinka area, but we really couldn't locate this all too well, so we put it in the location unknowns, but here's the clip. Also, we're going to have to mute this because it's an absolute rave up in here. We can see the Russian tanks moving on their way, the FPV drone lining up with the rear of the tank, guiding itself on in, just so, and... it looks like the Wii pause menu came up, but I think that it hit nonetheless. It's about to go boom, 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 boom. And the Russians inside, oh, bleed! And the ammunition is roasting while they're on the menu. Anyways, that's the end of the clip. Great to see that they were able to hit another Russian tank. We do not know what kind of damage was caused, however, because the kamikaze drones sadly don't show us the aftermath footage, because usually the camera is turned off by that point after the explosion, mostly because it's in multiple pieces. But it did get a direct hit on the rear of that turret, and hopefully it did pop the turret straight off. A turret toss, as they say. And so with that, we're now moving on from that little FPV clip. Very neat to see. And on into our next one, where we also saw a Pakistani shell has made its way to Ukraine. This is a little interesting, because as far as we know, the Pakistanis have never delivered any actual support to Ukraine that we've reported on this channel, or really that anyone's ever heard about. So we don't know how the Pakistani shell made it to Ukraine, but this may indicate that somehow, some way, either the Ukrainians are paying for Pakistani ammo, or the Pakistanis are providing the ammo. We're not really sure, but here's the clip. You see him taking the cap off the shell, loading it into the breech. So then getting out the stick to ram it on home. He's about to get the charge from behind him, right there. He shoves in the charge into the breech. Breech closes, and it's ready to fire. And it fires, casing ejects, and that Pakistani shell is on its way. Very cool to see. Once again, we have no idea where the Pakistani shell came from, but hopefully it shows that the Pakistanis are actually providing some kind of support. And so with that, we're now going to be moving on from this clip and into our next one, where we also saw a Russian tank get destroyed. Now, this I would like to say is special, but luckily it's not special. A lot of Russian tanks get destroyed, more so than most times we can even show on film. But here's the clip because it's nice. Now, I've got to play a little bit of this because I have a pretty good assumption this probably isn't copyrighted, because this song is so garbage. I have a feeling that nobody really wants to claim a copyright on this thing, so I'll play a few seconds of it.
That's a roast and a half.
Okay, so now I'm gonna mute it. Y'all can
Big
tell.
facts, though.
Y'all are blessed knowing that this video is muted. We can see them watching the bomb drop the bomblet on the tank. It hits, it explodes, and it actually looks like a BM.
Oh, wow.
No, an MTLB. It's an MTLB. Sorry, everyone. The thing is literally firing out the butt. I'm telling y'all, this thing ain't Taco Bell. I promise you. In fact, it's blowing out of both ends, the front and the back. That's certainly Taco Bell. Hell, it's even blowing out the top. Call this thing JFK because it's just going all over the place.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Maybe a little too much, but anyways, that's the end of the clip. And it looks like that MTLB is not having a fun time. And it looks like one bomblet did the trick. That's pretty impressive. Russians hate him. See how this Ukrainian drone pilot took out a $250,000 MTLB with one simple trick. Anyways, we're moving on from that MTLB, which we will lovingly name John F. Kennedy, and we're now moving on into our next bit of Location Unknown news, where we saw some Ukrainians doing some close quarters training. Everyone's saying too soon. That happened like 60 years ago.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, man. And is this video not going to load either? Let me refresh the page. It's always refreshing to refresh the page. Oh, here we go. Yeah, that actually worked this time. So here's the clip. We can see that they've made houses out of empty ammo boxes. You know that guy that made that Frontline house with like the little shelves and the benches in it a while ago out of the ammo boxes? They saw that video, Matthew, and President Zelensky said, "I want that man designing the training grounds." And then he got brought to the training grounds and he made these. But we can see them training. We can see them now being told what to do, I guess you could say. Now running out of the house again. Oh, a grenade landed in front of them, and they got down on the ground and exploded. We now see them opening the door. Now we see them going in there, and we can see a cutout of Frank Sinatra. I don't know why Frank Sinatra's the cutout.
Is that you, Frank?
He's about to say, and when they open up the door, Matthew, he said, "I did it my way." And then they lit him up. Anyways, they're aiming at him. Oh, look, they even put windows on these houses.
And these are the Ukrainians training?
Yeah, this is Ukrainian training. Look, they even have multi-story buildings made out of these ammo boxes. We now see them clearing the top floor, and that's the end of the clip. But once again, showing you all the efforts and rigors that Ukrainian forces go through to make sure that their training is top-notch. And I would have to actually say, this is a massive amount of effort, very resourceful for what they have, to be able to come up with an entire training field with multiple different houses with multiple different designs, and make it out of ammo boxes. That's just wild. And I gotta say, really shows Ukrainian ingenuity and how far they'll go to make sure that they can make things work somehow. And so with that, we're now going to be moving on from that little clip and on into our next one, our last one actually, where we saw the Russian loss report. Now strap yourselves in, everyone, because the loss report today was incredibly high and attributes to our title and thumbnail tonight that says that the Russians were butchered in Bakhmut. And I would have to tell y'all, they were certainly butchered. These casualty rates are incredibly high, and something that may cause some of y'all to faint, maybe some of y'all to have a, I guess you could say, an out-of-body experience. It's going to be quite insane. But nonetheless, here's the Russian casualty losses for the day. 1,010 Russian soldiers killed in 24 hours. An incredibly high figure. That means an entire battalion tactical group and a quarter of another battalion tactical group were wiped out over the past 24 hours. This is one of the highest days in terms of losses that we've seen over the course of the war. I would say it's probably about the third or the fourth highest day of losses if I was to make an estimation off the top of my head. Not only that, but the armored personnel carrier losses were also considerably high today, especially considering that the infantry losses appear to show that none of those infantry were probably backed up with support, because 20 armored personnel carriers were lost. That means that 2/3 of battalion tactical groups worth of armored personnel carriers has been destroyed over the past 24 hours. This is a fairly high number, even compared to the average over the last month. 7 supply trucks were destroyed. This is a somewhat average number, nothing really impressive, and it appears that YouTube is now telling us that we're having lag. Let's wait and see if that's true.
Everything on my end is like melting down right now. My Google Sheets isn't working right. The YouTube Studio is not working. I think we're having a bad internet problem.
I think we are, and also our viewership just throttled up to nearly 7,000, which I have a feeling is probably going to level out here in a second again, because right before that we were at like 5.9, so we just got like 700 viewers added on. That's not true. But anyways, 10 tanks were lost, and we're going to wait and see if the lag issue fixes itself, because according to OBS, there isn't a problem. It looks like it's working perfectly fine. According to YouTube, there may be a problem. So we're going to give it just a little longer. Come on, YouTube. Work with me here. Work with... Everyone's saying that there's no lag, actually. So I guess YouTube's just pulling it. Yeah, YouTube's just yoinking our chain. Anyways, 10 tanks were lost today. That is an entire battalion tactical group's worth of tanks. And let me show y'all this so that way y'all can always get the measurement. Battalion tactical group structure. Let me find y'all a picture of this, so that way y'all know what I'm talking about. So, this is the notorious BTG. That's like the notorious BIG. But anyways, dagnabbit. Dude, it won't enlarge the picture. Hang on, let me go back. BTG composition. Let me go try and get a big picture for y'all, so that we all know. Like, when I say things like, this is like almost a whole battalion tactical group, what does that really mean in terms of scale? So let me see if this one works. This is on globalsecurity.org, so maybe it will. And now they're really small. They're microscopic. But let me get that one. Let me see if it'll throw it up on the big screen. Here we go. So this is about as big as we're going to get it. So, this is the structure of, say, the average battalion tactical group. Although, let me make sure. Yeah, okay, this would be the normal structure. So, as you can see, there are 30 armored personnel carriers per battalion tactical group. You can see those right here. And then there are 10 tanks. And that is the entire armor composition of a normal battalion tactical group. So today, if we look at those casualty reports and compare that to that chart, and say how many losses did they take per battalion as a battalion tactical group, 20 armored personnel carriers mean that these two whole groups of armored personnel carriers were destroyed, and if it was a battalion tactical group, it would be, that's all that's left, are these 10 armored personnel carriers right here. And then all of the tanks that you see down here at the bottom, they're all gone. There's not a single one left. Also, 8 artillery pieces were lost. I don't know if the artillery is, well, actually, it seems as though it is directly integrated into the BTG, as it's saying over here, or, I don't know. I'll have to go back and look at the battalion tactical group structure, because as far as I remember, it only had, like, 30 armored personnel carriers, 10 tanks, maybe a couple support vehicles. Not all of this added on to it, and certainly not 6 pantsiers per BTG, because I don't know how they would possibly even afford that. But anyways, nonetheless, getting back to the casualty report, we can also see that they lost 8 artillery systems, 2 entire Russian batteries over the past 24 hours. 1 drone was shot down, 2 MLRSs were destroyed, which is an incredibly high figure compared to the average. 1 anti-aircraft vehicle was also destroyed. We don't know what kind, but we can estimate its cost to be around $15 million. And to top it all off, like icing on the cake, 2 Bobcat skid steers were wiped out over 24 hours.
2 Bobcats? 2 more. That's impressive.
2?
Like, how many were yesterday? 3?
I think it was 3. So they're keeping the numbers pretty high, especially for special equipment, because special equipment is a lot more rare than any of the other frontline vehicles we've been seeing, and the fact that they're getting destroyed is shocking, to say the least. But another 2 destroyed in 24 hours.
Wait, I like the comments on the right. Like, this first person up at the top says, "Why do we need to know?" The second person says, "Impressive." Third person says, "Constructive to see it." Why do we need to know? Well, why would you want the information?
And I bet you, Matthew, they say, "Why do we need to know?" And then they get on Twitter and go, the world is lying to us. The war isn't even happening because there's no video footage of it. I bet you that's what they also say on the same token. But anyways, the losses have been quite significant. Man, maybe we ought to change the format of our channel to where we just roam through Twitter from start to finish on the stream. Maybe that's what we need. I'm just kidding. Anyways, the losses have been incredibly high, especially for the Russian infantry today, and this can mostly be attributed to the absolute slaughterhouse that Bakhmut has turned into today. The Russians did make some small gains, but at the same time, while they made those gains, and while our internet killed itself as well, they were getting butchered. And so with that, we're now going to be moving on from, and also let me close those down. I don't know what's wrong with the internet tonight. The internet's just having problems. But we're now going to be moving on from the location unknowns and on directly into Bakhmut, because we've gotten some unbelievable pictures, videos, and footage out of Bakhmut showing how badly the battle has gone today. and it's bad. It's incredible, especially for the Russians. It's incredibly bad for the Russians. But before we get to that, we have to cover the polls, because the polls have been incredibly good and very interesting, to say the least. And so with that, Matthew, what do we got?
All right, let's jump right into those polls, and we have 3 of them to address like usual during our first question segment. And the day a fire broke out. Can you hear me?
I think we're dealing with some lag problems on our end now as well. OBS says it's running fine, but your voice lagged there for a second. It like stopped and then it all came at me in like 1 second. So
You didn't hear any breathing, did you?
no, I didn't hear you breathing this time. No breathing this time. Oh man, I get no respect around here. I hear I'm breathing in the microphone and people call me crazy. Oh man, it gets worse than that. Oh man. But anyways, I don't know. Is it lagging for y'all in the live chat? Because I'm looking at the stream and it looks like it isn't lagging there, but please let us know, because I would like to
I think we
know.
got some weather moving in outside or something. I think that's what it is.
Maybe, but my computer is just saying it's cloudy, so I don't know what's going wrong with the internet. But with that, we are now on into those polls, and also Michael Talich saying, hey, Ukraine is lost. It's a year and a month later, and guess who's still alive? Ukraine. So, you know, I'm not going to say that, though. That would be my usual response. But anyways, let's move on into the polls.
All right, so back into that first poll. The question is, today, a fire broke out at a Moscow propaganda news station, and what are your thoughts? 21% said it was likely an accident, 8% said unsure, 26% said, it seems suspicious, and 45% said it was likely sabotage. And on this one, I gotta say, it seems suspicious, but there's really no evidence it's sabotage. And apparently the fire happened inside the building as well, so that'd be kind of hard for a partisan or somebody who wants to set it on fire to really get in there to do that. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say that someone was probably trying to, I don't know, how do I say this, Matthew? Hit a doink. And they caught the
what?
They caught the office on fire in the process, and then started burning it to the ground. I don't really know what would have caused it. It would be very hard for a partisan to get that deep in the building and start a fire there. But who knows? Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. We really don't know what caused it, though. But still, it's just nice to see that the Spaz office was on fire today. So with that, I hope that does.
Man, it was a world-class dumpster fire too, by the way.
Man, like their show every single night. I mean, like, you know, have you seen their show? They run an uncontrolled dumpster fire every single night they air. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's almost like us. But
they're gonna come back on. They're gonna come back on the air and say, "We're spitting straight fire in here. That's why the building caught on fire and burned to the ground."
You know what? You know what's gonna happen, man? They're gonna come back on air, and all of them are gonna have little bits of smoke coming off their clothes. Going, Igor, what do you think about this? I don't know, man. And he's like smoking, and his hair is like all burnt.
It's actually just the Russians trying to formulate a thought. That's why their brain's on fire.
Someone in their news organization, Matthew, said, "Oh, we've been winning this war since the start." And then someone said, "Well, why has it lasted 1 year instead of 3 days like it was supposed to?" And then that Russian just looked at him and realized how stupid his statement was, and his head just caught on fire and it started burning down the building. And the other guy was like, "Oh, please, call the fire brigade." But anyways, with that, I hope we addressed that poll fairly well, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and the second poll says, Ukraine says implemented extra security measures to defend against Russian missiles, and what are your thoughts? 68%, which is the most popular choice, said U.S. weapons must have arrived. 9% said unsure. 18% said, they simply beefed up defense, and 5% said it's probably just talk. Now, the guy who was commenting on it today was Ukraine's interior minister. He declined to give any details whatsoever about what that actually meant. I would tend to think a little bit more than simply beefing up defense, and some U.S. weapons must have arrived in secret that they have not announced officially yet. But it's good to know that they apparently have some countermeasures now to defend even better against the missiles. Still no way to defend against the hypersonics, but Really, nobody has a surefire way of defending against those yet. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say it's great to hear that they are saying that they're strengthening up their air defenses. Hopefully that is the case. And of course, like Matthew said, nothing will be able to stop the hypersonic. So every time a hypersonic is fired, that is going to pretty much be a confirmed hit on whatever it was aiming for. But beyond that, we know that the large majority of Russian missiles are conventional, and a lot of their attacks are based off of Iskanders, let's see, calibers and other missiles like that, also Shaheds. And so improving air defenses helps to destroy and thwart the large majority of what the Russians are firing at them. So it's great to hear that they did that. It may be that they got either the Norwegian NASAMS, or they've gotten the Patriots and other air defense systems from Germany and the United States and the Netherlands, which may have helped them to bolster their air defenses. So it's great to hear that they're doing that, and I hope we addressed that poll fairly well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
All right, and the last poll, the first question is, reports say that Russia captured U.S. weapons to Iran for reverse engineering, and what are your thoughts? 36% said that's very bad and concerning, 10% said unsure, 26% said, it's not that serious, and 28% said, I'm not worried at all. I think we have to be slightly worried, but not too worried. I would say it's not that serious, because I'm assuming the weapons that have been captured are nothing really highly classified, if classified whatsoever, probably old tech. So maybe Iran's going to simply reverse engineer something that basically is already available to them anyway, but I'm not really sure exactly what they captured. But I'm going to go with the 26% that said not that serious. And Enforcer, what say you?
I would have to say, first off, Matthew, I'm going to have to see about this. It says the voice chat is connected well, but you are fading in and out badly. I don't know what it is. Of course, it's probably just an internet thing, but just letting you know, we might have to have you repeat things later on if this keeps going. But to answer that question in a fairly good way, of course, I would say that the only thing I could really imagine them capturing is either American small arms like an M4 or an M240, or capturing something else like a Stinger or a Javelin, considering that those are carried by infantry, and so they could be dropped somewhere near to the front lines and then captured. We know that M777s aren't being captured. We know that precision-guided shells for those artillery pieces also aren't being captured either, because we've never gotten any proof of that. And we know that the HIMARS is certainly never going to be captured, because they are so far behind the lines whenever they're used that you really can't even touch them. So I would have to say that is probably nothing that is of great concern. And if the Iranians get a Javelin and they try and reverse engineer it, boo-hoo, what are they going to do? You know, open up a whole new computer tech industry? They don't have one, so it doesn't matter if they figure out what's in it. They don't even have the ability to make or import the technology to make those things work. I mean, like, hasn't anyone seen the one? Let's see. Wait, nope, that's not the one. What's that helicopter called? Iranian attack helicopter.
That jank-looking one?
Yeah, that jank-looking one. This one right here, the Shahed 285. This is what Iran is capable of on their own. So let me ask you all this. Do you really think a country that is able to produce this as their best domestic reconnaissance and light attack helicopter, do you think they'd really be able to reverse engineer and mass produce Javelin anti-tank guided missile launchers? My honest answer would be certainly not. If anyone says that they can, I think they're probably a little loony. Because it takes, unlike a nuclear weapon these days is actually a lot easier to produce than anything involving computers or electronics, because computers and electronics require a large amount of infrastructure, a large amount of wealth to be able to even produce in mass. And so while the North Koreans that still live in the 50s technologically can create a nuclear weapon because it's possible at a 50s level of technology, you can't go and make a Javelin ATGM on 1950s technology. It's impossible. And so I would have to say I'm not really scared of that. If the Iranians really did find a way to capture some of these things, they were sent from Russia to Iran, and they're going to try and reverse engineer them. They probably don't even have the ability to produce reverse engineered copies of those objects. And so with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. In my opinion, And also, please bask in the glory of the beautiful Iranian Islamic Republic's Shahed 285. It will be coming nowhere near you because the U.S. will probably shoot this thing down when it's taking off, if it's ever used. So with that, we're now going to be moving on into the question segment, I believe. I believe that was our last poll, if I remember hearing that correctly. So let's move on into the questions.
All right, and up first, hopefully my Discord issue has been solved. I disconnected and reconnected to the call, so maybe that fixed it. If not, might have to restart my Mac, sadly. But anyways, up first we have a $50 donation from Jesus UCSB. I almost said Jesus USCB, but got it right. And thank you very much for that support. He says, Viva LSA Army, and I have an idea. Should I do a Spanish version of the Enforcer where I do your show in Spanish? And to the Russian bots, Enforcer is not fat. He is Army chubby. Tanker Jesus out.
Well, thank you for the support, Jesus. And also, interesting here, I'm Army chubby. Now, you know, I don't
Never
really
heard that term before.
I never heard that one before. That one's new to me. I'm gonna have to write that one down. I'm gonna go to college whenever we get back, and I'm gonna go, I'm not fat, I'm Army chubby, and then people are gonna point and laugh. But anyways, thank you for the support. Regardless, you know, it's fine with me. I still find Amerifatty to be the funniest thing I've ever heard. Directed at me or Matthew for that matter. I love it, honestly. And that's why we've turned it into merch, which will be coming out on Tuesday. So be ready for that drop, because it's going to drop harder than a Russian who just got an artillery round landing right alongside him. It's going to be an absolutely great merch run. And also, can you reread the first part, Matthew?
Yes, the first part said Viva LSA Army, and he has an idea. Should he do a Spanish version of the Enforcer? If I don't know why I said Enforcer.
If you want to, you could. I would have no problem with that. That would be pretty neat. And so thank you for the support. I hope that does address that fairly well. And thank you, Jesus, for helping this channel to keep on running and also being a Lee Spring Army tanker. The problem is still going on, Matthew. It's apparently just an internet thing. It's annoying, but I guess there's nothing we can do to fix it. But still, thank you so much once again for support. I hope we address that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And also, Enforcer, you know some Spanish, don't you? You could probably do like a Spanish Enforcer version, couldn't
no,
you?
man. I don't want to be like one of those politicians out there who go, I'm in touch. I'm in touch. And then goes, Lo siento, unos, dos, tres, cuatro. And then acts like they're doing something revolutionary. No, I'm not that good at speaking Spanish at all. I can speak Spanish a little bit, very, very, very basic conversational skills, but I do not want to do it because one, I have no accent doing it, and two, it's insulting to try and do it because it's just bad. It's terrible. So with that, we are on to the next one, but I can do a very good German accent, yeah. There's a lot of South American people who can do a pretty good German accent in Argentina.
Oh boy. But anyways, we're on to our next super chat, which is from Red Lamani, who puts in a $20 donation and says, hey guys, some drone funds. And if you want to check my town of origin in Italy, the name is Sorrento, located by the city of Naples. A very historic place to check out the town of Pompeii, excavated from the volcano Vesuvius eruption.
I gotta tell you, man, this call problem, oh my god, it's gonna drive me crazy, man. Because you say
you're breaking up on my end too, it sounds like.
Yeah, when you say something, it's like, oh my god, I can only hear like one out of every 3 words. But I did hear where the town is, the town of Sorrento. So let's wait for the Google map to also load as well, because now the Google map isn't loading. Come on, Google. Come on, Google.
It's the internet for sure on Mac. I know people love to blame Apple computers, but this time it's not it.
Oh, it's the internet tonight. Thank you, Spectrum. Thank you. And then, oh, dude, the YouTube just said it's having a problem. Oh my god, dude, look, the OBS just went to 0.
What, are we on dial-up again?
Yeah, we're on dial-up again. So let's go down to Sorrento. And let's see if Street View will ever work. But let's see here. Oh, Trackside Lab Sorrento. Yeah. Wow, this is really a nice town.
Oh, nice.
If only the other half of the street would load in. Oh, there we go. Wow, this is really nice. I would say this is top notch, actually. If only crap would load quickly, though. This is getting aggravating. This is gonna be this is gonna be aggravating to deal with for the rest of tonight's stream. But we are going to run this thing until the wheels come off or the internet comes off, one or the other. But still, a really nice place. I would look at more of it, but this loading thing will drive me mentally insane. But I still thank you so much for the support and also sharing with us where you're from. And thank you for supporting the drone fund. Now, one thing I would like to say is if everyone could, because the original intent in bringing up the drone thing was not to start like a fundraising effort through super chats. It was just to let y'all know what we were doing behind the scenes for someone. If you do put in a drone fund, of course we will be getting them a drone, or we'll be finding a way to get them a drone from someone else and then give it to them. But I would like that everyone doesn't, because I already saw some questions in the first 10 minutes in the countdown tonight saying, what's like the numbering and the accounting on the drone fundraiser, and there is really no fundraiser for the drone. And now that people have sent in super chat saying this is for the drone, this we are of course going to put those towards the drone, but we want to make sure that we keep things strictly divided. Super chats to support the channel, and then a Sunday night fundraiser to support Ukraine. But we will be getting the drone. It's just that I don't want this to become something where it's continuous and then people are asking, is it the drone fund? Is it not the drone fund? What are the numbers looking like? Because that's why we run Sunday fundraisers, and we run them through YouTube Give, so we can avoid that mystery, like what's really happening with that support. Like, where is it going? How much was it? How much did the drone cost? But I do thank you for the support to the drone fund, and also showing us the beautiful town of Sorrento, which is not that far from Pompeii, actually. Pompeii is right over here. And you can actually see Mount Vesuvius right here, too. I'm wondering if Matthew's here. I don't know if he can hear me.
Pompeio's all the way over there.
Pompeii?
Oh my god, there's an extreme delay now, too, I think.
Really?
Okay, you call it back up. It sounded like you just went like 100 miles an hour.
Oh, I'm telling you, Matthew, I'm going to be. This is going to be a rough night already. I can tell you that right now. Also, thank you so much for the support, Joseph.
I think the weather might maybe clear up in a minute, or whatever's going on. It might fix itself shortly.
Matthew, could you set out onto the foredeck and see what kind of weather the ship's dealing with? I'm just kidding. But here's Mount Vesuvius. If you haven't seen that before, Matthew.
Interesting.
Pretty cool, pretty cool.
Also,
and,
howdy, neighbor. If that's actually you, howdy.
Hang on, wait a minute. Oh no. Oh no, they found it. But let's see. Let's go let's go down to, and what's crazy, man. Okay, hang on. Here's what's crazy. You see, there's Pompeii today. And look at this, man. It's an entire urban area. Pretty much the urban area of Pompeii and Naples straddles Mount Vesuvius around it in a circle. But back in the day, when Pompeii was covered by pyroclastic ash from the explosion from Mount Vesuvius, Pompeii was only this big. Right here, where I'm circling. That's all that Pompeii was.
Really?
Yeah, that's how big it was. And that was considered a somewhat...
So they just got really unlucky then with the lava flowing right through it.
Yeah, kind of. From what people describe, because there were some people during the Pompeii disaster that made it up here onto these ridges pretty much down near Monte Sorrento. They said they looked back at the town, because, they didn't get killed immediately. There was actually an explosion and things kind of got bad for about the next 24 hours or so, and there was like ash coming down on people, so they started to leave. But then some of them decided to stay and thought it was the judgment of the gods and all that stuff. So then the guys up here, well, the guys, gals, everyone who was on the ridgeline up here, they looked back and they saw the pyroclastic landslide pretty much coming from Vesuvius, and it just buried the town. They said they watched it go block by block, like house by house, just covering everything, and everything disappeared within this like pyroclastic flow. Really interesting here, but really cool nonetheless, because there is street view in Pompeii, well, in some places, and you can actually see what a Roman road looked like, and they're narrow as hell. I mean, like, these things are way narrower than you would think. A lot of people always think that ancient Roman cities were a lot like Rome, and they would all have these incredibly wide roads that were opulent and unbelievable. I mean, like, what you're looking at here, more or less, is what your normal Roman town would look like. This would be your Birmingham, Alabama of the Roman world, you know, in terms of what it looks like. And really interesting, you can see I believe these are called the tabernae, if I'm correct, the little storefronts that were a part of people's houses, and they would set up shop in these little openings, and they would sell stuff out of them, which is really neat. Like,
That's pretty cool.
yeah, so you literally had like strip malls going down the street. Like, it's really just a modern day 2,000 years ago with the technology and the resources that they had. And they even had like fast food and all kinds of stuff. Super cool. And go ahead.
I wonder if the mini mall guy was out here with one of these booths.
Matthew, there was a Roman guy
It's
out
just
there.
the mini mall.
There was a Roman guy, Matthew, out there going, "Awe a mumo." And he's like singing it in Latin. He's like spinning around a little sign and everything. And he's got like furniture
Yes.
for sale in his tabernacle. I mean, like that would be very, very funny to me. And also, it's just crazy to look at what Pompeii was. You know, and this was a town of 10,000 people. 10,000 people lived in this small area. And they had a little amphitheater over here, the Teatro Grande. I think they may have rebuilt some of this. If I'm no, actually, this entire thing's original. They dug it out of the ground, of course, out of the pyroclastic ash, and you can see what a theater looked like during Roman times, like the exact same steps, the massive stage. I mean, the stage is actually huge. But you know, of course, this is the Ukraine war. But since we were talking about just right outside of Sorrento, Italy, Pompeii is an incredibly cool thing to see, and you're literally looking at a town that was buried nearly 2,000 years ago and stuck in time from that point on until it was starting to become uncovered in the 1920s and 30s. So with that, I hope that addresses that fairly well, and I thank you so much once again for support from one of our Lee Spring Army viewers from Sorrento, Italy, representing the Lee Spring Army, all the way over there in the southernmost part of the Italian peninsula. Really cool, actually. And thank you so much once again for sharing that with us. And I gotta say, you live in one hell of a town. That was a beautiful place. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again for the support. I think this is the last one, actually.
It is. And also that explains why Red makes such good pizza in New York, too, since he's from Italy. That makes a whole lot of sense now. But anyways, on to our next one. We have a $100 donation from Joseph M. Sika, who says, you know, Spectrum is kind of funny, honestly, though. It's about being nice to thy neighbor, to thy brother, treating people with respect. I don't understand why Russia just couldn't join NATO, and I believe that you have to love the people that love you. Touchy subject, communism.
And I thank you for the support, Joseph. And I would have to say, let's see, you know, Spectrum. Spectrum's, like, the people who work at Spectrum are great people. The company, however, sucks. And it never provides good internet. But I've dealt with a lot of Spectrum folks who work at Spectrum, and I can never give a knack or a knock against the people who work at Spectrum. I've never run into a bad one. They're always nice people. And some of them actually watch the show, as a matter of fact. And I've got to say, they're great, but the internet service that the company provides is tough. I mean, like, it's really tough. And, you know, I wish there were more internet providers in Spectrum, because at least there would be some kind of competition to ensure a quality of service, but there isn't any down here. It's Spectrum or dial-up, and dial-up so slow it's unusable in the modern world. But with that, I thank you so much for the support, the massive amount of support, and Russia couldn't join NATO way back in the day, because once Putin got in charge, while he seemed to be buddies with NATO in the very early 2000s, he had the imperial ambitions from the get-go, and he never wanted to join NATO, because if he did, those imperial ambitions would never be realized, and he could not have that. So with that, I thank you so much once again for support, Joseph. I hope that addresses the comment fairly well, and thank you so much for the huge amount of support in helping this channel to keep on running. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again for the massive amount of support. Actually, I think that was the last one.
Yes, that was our last one. That was the third one.
So with that, now dealing with the internet issues, which are driving me up the wall. I'm like not even kidding. It's driving me up the wall. We're now going to be moving on into
It kind of
Bakhmut.
is, to be honest. Also, folks, it is daylight savings times tonight, so I don't know how this is going to work. I think the stream goes back an hour at 12 o'clock. Am I right?
I think it does. I think our stream will get crunched down to compressed size. I don't really know how that's going to work, but it'll be interesting nonetheless. So, loading in our deep state map, since it's also gone under, here is Bakhmut. And here's what Bakhmut looked like over the past 24 hours. This is the move that the Russians made. And you can see that they're making those big money moves. They were able to take a field and one city block, and they were also able to move up this one street right here. Quite a considerable move for the Russians that cost them about 1,000 guys dead to just take that small area. Another interesting thing about Bakhmut today is we can actually see how many losses were taken in the field down here. So let me move this marker, because from what we can collect, this is actually from the field that they were fighting over today, and this is a field of Russians. So let me get the picture in large for y'all. This is the field right up here at the top, and these are red markers. And some of y'all may be wondering, what the hell do the red markers represent? Well, my good friend, my friends, those red markers represent Russians that are sleeping. And
it's literally the killing fields.
It's literally the killing fields. And so, if y'all will stick with me real quick for a dramatic effect, let's count them up, and let's see how many we see in this single frame. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, and 65. There are 65 Russians in this field, in this single frame. And look how small of a frame it really is when you look at it. This is about a quarter of one field on the outskirts of Bakhmut. And there are loads of fields like this. Every single quarter field that is around Bakhmut. And let me see if I can actually draw this up on my map real quick with the little line function. Every single field in an area about this big, you know, from drawing from the red line and making a perimeter, everything in that area is like that. It's littered with that many bodies, all the way from about 2 miles east of Soledar, all the way up till Bakhmut itself. It's unbelievable. It's absolutely crazy. And a lot of people are actually saying that the number in the count was actually 69. Nice. I may have miscounted a few of them. And some people are saying 74. I don't know if y'all don't know how to count or if it's me who doesn't know how to count, because I'm bad at math, but everyone's giving me conflicting numbers. Now I'm seeing 70 and 74. I'm seeing 75. But nonetheless, regardless the number, it's an unbelievable number that you're seeing right here. You're almost seeing an entire company of Russian soldiers that were killed in just this one spot. They've been killed like this everywhere, and that doesn't give you an idea of how badly the Russians have been losing forces just in the outskirts of Bakhmut, not even getting into the city streets themselves, where the losses become far greater and far larger than they were in the open spaces of the fields. They are losing everything in Bakhmut. It's actually unbelievable to see a picture like this and see all of the Russians out there. Like, look at them. They're just peppering the field all over you. Like, every little weird, like, discoloration or a little casting of a shadow is a Russian on the top picture.
Jeez, I wouldn't want to know what it was like to, like, stand near that field. Jeez, that smells probably rough.
Yeah, you know, the smell's got to be horrendous. And, you know, this is probably also multiple assaults that have happened over this field time and time again, and Russians just falling on top of other Russians. You know, it's not even an exaggeration when Ukrainians say the bodies are piling on top of each other out there, because this picture proves they literally are. I mean, like, the bodies are just stacking on top of each other in these fields to the points that the fields will be growing sunflowers by the time summer comes around this year, because there's just so many of them out there. So with that, that's the end of that little picture. But once again, giving y'all a very good idea through picture evidence, the kind of slaughter fest that's going on in Bakhmut against the Russian soldiers who are still trying to fight to take the city with hardly any success. We're now going to be moving on into our next bit of news in the northern area, where we saw a Ukrainian sniper at work making sure to add some guys to that field. And he's got a fine rifle right there. I don't know what kind that is, but it is sick. You see him aiming it?
Есть.
When you see him fire right there. Rounds on his
Looks
way.
like a Barrett, maybe.
You know what it looks like to me? It looks like one of the. It looks like a rifle. I swear I just saw at a gun store like last week or so. Like I don't know what it was called, but I swear I saw this thing, same scope and everything in a gun store. But still, this thing looks.
It's
great.
either a Barrett, but it's definitely expensive. Like from that scope alone, that thing is an expensive setup.
Oh yeah, that scope's probably like $8,000 to $9,000 alone. Who knows how much the gun was worth as well. So with that's the end of that clip. Once again, great to see the snipers at work inside of Bakhmut. And we're now moving on into our next clip of news, where we also saw inside Bakhmut again and what it's looking like out there. When you see a car that was flung up from an artillery explosion and is now resting on a fence. You now hear a firefight going on in the distance, and tracer rounds flying overhead. Now see them firing a machine gun from inside of a house, running outside and firing an RPG at a high angle, firing their machine gun through a small opening, flying a drone over a destroyed building.
They have some talented drone operators over there.
Oh, they do, man. They've been getting skilled. What the hell? Okay, that's wild right there. I would think it would have
movie
lost signal.
quality.
Приходилось вот до такого состояния разбирать дома, чтобы подойти.
You now see them moving through the destroyed
Так,
streets.
практически каждый дом штурмился. В каждом доме находилось по несколько групп противника.
You
Здесь
see some burnt
находились огневые
AKs.
точки.
I thought you could throw this thing in dirt and a raging fire and it would survive. What happened to this one? This one looks a little charred. Someone needs to get some Vapo Rub and rub it on this thing. Maybe it'll be better because it's not looking good right now. I don't think this thing will shoot.
Здесь находились огневые точки противника, ленты, НАТО.
You now see them passing the car again. I mean, is this a loop? Yes, it is a loop. Huh. Yeah, it's an exact loop of the first part of the video, so that's the end of that video right there. But once again, giving you a little bit of a glimpse at multiple events going on inside the city of Bakhmut. And once again, it's great to know that the Ukrainians are holding it incredibly well, and whenever they do get pushed back, it is at an incredibly high cost for the Russians, about 1,000 soldiers for just a few city blocks. We're now going to be moving on into the southern area of Bakhmut, where we also saw a Varta firing at a Russian. A Varta is a Ukrainian-made armored car that has a 50 caliber machine gun mounted on top, particularly a Dishka. Here's the Varta in action.
Давай, братан.
See it looking out into the distance. See him lining up the Dishka. And now you can see him firing it. Not gonna lie, the Varta looks pretty mean. With that's the end of the clip. And once again, nice to see that the Varta is in use. We've rarely ever seen these things in use, and they're a very mean-looking, domestically made Ukrainian armored personnel carrier while I slam my teeth into each other. I don't know why the hell that just happened, Matthew. I was talking and my bottom jaw came up and the bottom row of teeth hit the top row of teeth and it felt like my entire jaw started ringing. That was not a good feeling.
I could hear that too. Like I could feel it in my own jaw when you just did that.
Man, it hurts. It still hurts. I don't know what the hell happened there. But anyways, we're moving on into our next clip while my tooth feels like its nerve has been destroyed, where we've seen some Ukrainian soldiers in action on the front in the same area today. Mani said, badass. Nah, clicking my teeth together like that was not badass. That was terrible. Also, I'm going to have to mute that because that is heavily copyrighted. But we see the Ukrainians moving through the destroyed city here in the south with a stretcher. See artillery exploding while they're inside of a basement. Now see them hanging out inside of this basement. And it looks like they may be putting a tourniquet on one of the soldiers. He may have gotten some kind of shrapnel injury. But with that, that's the end of the video. And once again, fairly interesting to see what the Ukrainians are dealing with in that area while I'm trying to deal with the... And I've got it, I'm not going to lie with you all, this pain is bad. It feels like I just literally split the tooth in two. I'll probably find out it was after the stream. But anyways, what you can see...
Well, at least your mouth isn't bleeding like the other night.
Oh yeah, I'm tasting blood, and I was like being completely honest. I was like, I'm tasting blood everywhere, and it was not fun. That was a
This
huge...
is what happens when you start having birthdays every day. You get old very quickly.
Yeah, I go into the doctors next time. They're like, "Sir, you have the bones of a 300-year-old man," and I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Hang on, run that by me one more time." But with that, we're now moving on to this clip where we can also see a view of Bakhmut and also the MiG-17 monument as it is today from a Ukrainian armored personnel carrier, an M113, that was passing by. And this video, of course, is loading, probably because of the internet issues. And so here's the clip. When you see the M113 driving at a fairly fast speed, we can see the MiG monument right over there. And now we can see them scooting on by, rubble all over the streets, but once again showing you all that location and showing that the MiG-17 monument had in fact been destroyed. We're now going to be moving on all the way down to the southern area, just south of Klishchiivka, where we saw the Ukrainians firing off a 57mm anti-aircraft gun at the Russians. This is something that's commonly been employed on both sides, but somewhat hilarious when you remember that the Russians were supposed to be the second most advanced army in the world, and they're now using guns that the Ukrainians are having to use because the Ukrainians, of course, don't have a lot, but the Russians were claimed to have everything in the world and then some, and even be able to take on the United States while having one hand tied behind their back. But anyways, here's the clip. When you see them lining up the gun.
Нет. Он есть. Есть. Сопровождать. Сопровождать. Доповедь. Есть.
You see them lining up the anti-aircraft gun and now firing it off. Do they have two of them?
Down.
Dang, man, this thing sounds like a battleship going off. Yeah, they got two of these things out there. You now see them lining up the gun again. And with that,
Now that's a gun.
that's the end of the clip, but that is a gun, and that was several of them as well. That honestly sounded, Matthew, like one of those quad Bofors guns that you would find on a battleship in the Second World War. I know Walter knows what I'm talking about, but here's a picture of one of them right here.
Look
Honestly,
at one person screaming right there in the middle.
he's sitting there, he's going, I don't think they're going to say that my hearing loss is service related. And then the other guy over here is like, what? I can't hear you. But anyways, oh man, that sounded a lot like that. Also, let me see if I can pull these up. The C60, 57mm. Here we go. This is what these things actually look like. In case if y'all are wondering, they've mounted them onto the back of some trucks, and it seemed that they have two of them out there. So pretty wild to see, and it's sad to know that those poor guys in the picture... What the hell is this? What the hell? Oh, it's a T-15 Armada. I forgot those things even existed. I remember seeing those way back in like 2015, and then I never saw one again. But anyways, what in the actual hell is this?
I don't even know.
The clashing of the swords, the swing of the knife. Oh my god, that thing's ugly. It looks... I don't even know what that looks like. It looks ungodly, though. Someone needs to send that thing back to hell where it belongs. That it does not belong anywhere. That's just too ugly. Even if it does work, it's ugly. Anyways, we're moving on from that little video in the southern area of Bakhmut near Klishkivka, and now moving on down into the area of Orlivka. Well, actually, I forgot. We actually have some news in the northeast. Of course, nothing happened up here, so we're not even going to go over the front line. But down in the Kremenna area, we did see some Ukrainian soldiers get encircled again, sadly, by the vicious cow. And we can see them here. Call this trench Arby's because they have the meats.
Там підари стріляють, а тут корови прийшли на позицію.
Заглядають.
Жесть, оце війна. Що бицю? Тікай звідси, бо застрелять.
I like cows, they're pretty chill.
Ні, та вроді би
Московські.
The Ukrainians always act like they've never really seen a cow before.
They're like, look, it's a creature. And then they film it.
Тікайте звідси, курівки. Отака війна. Слава Україні.
He's like, the cows, they're amazing. The glory to the country. And then he ends the video. But anyways, that's the end of the clip. And great to see that the Ukrainians are having fun with the local wildlife. You know, it's a domesticated cow, yeah, but it's wildlife now because no one's around there anymore. Anyways, we're now moving on down into the area of Ivano-Dorivka, where we saw some high morale being exhibited on the front lines today, while our viewership number fluctuates in between 0 and 7,000 and 750,000. I don't really know where the viewer number's at right now. I don't know how many of y'all are watching, but make Matthew's job fun and let us know in the live chat if you're watching or not. I bet that won't cause any problems in terms of our
It
moderation.
actually won't, actually, because my chat can't even keep up. It's like all over the place.
And now Matthew's audio quality's all over the place because it went like this is what I heard, Matthew. They chat all the place. It's like, oh no, it's like this is not good.
Do we have any quality control around here?
Oh man, we need to source out the quality control, Matthew. Call them out. But here's the clip.
Call them out.
You hear the artillery exploding right over them. And these guys, while they're flinching a little bit, are just getting a good laugh out of the whole thing.
Мама йде. Танцуй тя-тя-тя-тя.
Did he just say potato? Did you hear that, man? He said potato. He did. He said
This
that.
dude,
He said
this dude
potato.
right here reminds me of somebody I went to school with that's actually in the Marines now.
Oh, dude, I know you. Yeah, he does. He does, doesn't he?
Yes, it's him.
Potato. And that's the end of the clip, but still, really nice to see that the morale is high, and of course, good to know that the Ukrainian soldiers are keeping their spirits up even this late into the war. Backyard Racing, once again, every time Backyard Racing throws in a comment, it like sticks out because because you know it's got that check mark on it. So like you see it and it's like, oh man, I get no respect around here. We're being told to move into the city. The problem is we already do. We live in the middle of it.
Yes, we live in the city. That's the sad part. It's Alabama.
Man. That's the worst part about it. I get no respect around here. I move into the city, I pay a massive amount of money for the internet, and the internet doesn't provide for me. Oh man, I get no respect around here. Oh man. Anyways, we're moving on out of the area of the northeast and moving on down into the area of Donetsk, and specifically Toretsk, which rhymes with Donetsk, where we saw some Ukrainian artillery firing in support of the front line. And this is specifically an L119 105mm howitzer provided by the British. I don't know what kind of music's being played here. It sounds like the Pink Panther, but we're going to have to mute it just in case if it is the Pink Panther. We can now see them firing off the L119 a little bit more. Firing it at night with a red light. called it the red light district, Matthew, because some people are getting blown away. And when you see
them
them
there with that JFK joke in a minute.
when you see them writing some messages on the shells.
Let's see. I think it said Leafs Spring Army.
Hopefully it did. Maybe it did. Magister Ludi said, your internet is positively flying compared to mine. Oh, man, it needs to be better, though, because we can't have these kinds of problems. They drive us mad. But we can see them still firing off the L119. I gotta be honest with you, Matthew, it looks a lot more fun to fire the L119 than the M777 because everything's so much more manageable on that piece. You know, the size of it, the weight of the shells. Like, you really just need, like, 3 guys to operate the L119. You need, like, a 7-8-man team to run an M777.
Yeah, probably 5 guys on the 777.
Burgers and fries?
Yes. So that specifically so you can make that joke.
Oh, man. So anyway, so we're moving on to the next clip, where we saw some Ukrainian soldiers defending the line near Orlivka. These guys are part of the 24th Brigade. And so here's the clip.
Подготовки позиций. Потому что позиция должна быть рабочая всегда.
Різке потепління на Донеччині перетворило окопи на болота з глини та чорнозему. Аби хоч якось пересуватися, військовослужбовці по декілька разів на день вигрібають болото з-під ніг. Натомість така погода...
You know, back in the day, y'all, we actually didn't always have a life of YouTube. Back in the day, we actually used to dig ditches every once in a while. Very rarely, though. Very, very rarely. And kind of sludge is the exact kind of sludge we would deal with, and it's the most aggravating thing because you feel like you're getting a really good shovel scoop in, and none of the crap ever comes up. Like, you would get, like, maybe, like, a small, like, half handful of it in a whole shovel scoop, and then that's it. And now it says we're having a lag problem again while I explain this. Oh, look at that. We're having a lag problem again. So we'll give it a second. We'll wait.
Damn.
Damn, son. Where'd the internet get this?
So somebody said the enforcer's neighbors found out that their Wi-Fi is being pirated.
Oh, man.
Wow, he threw in a 50.
Oh, Backyard Racing threw in a 50. Oh, man, you still got to make the Hot Wheels videos, man. I'm waiting for the next one. Those were great. We're going to wait this thing out, though, because I want to make sure we're all back. Let's see. See, lag, JFK. So it's a JFK. Lag. Back. Lag, it's me. Me, it's lag. Hi, lag, I'm dead. Alabama famous for their mud. I would agree with that. Too famous, as a matter of fact. So let's get back to the video. And now you can see that crappy mud we're talking about right there. Literally the same consistency in everything, Matthew. We would be out there for days doing this crap.
Oh, yes.
Oh, it sucked.
That mud's heavy, too. Like, that little bit of mud right there probably weighs like a good 10 pounds, or at least it feels like it.
For some reason, that mud can make steel beams seem light. I don't know what it is, but you see them scooping it on up.
Натомість така погода доволі сильно і допомагає.
Грає погода на нашу роль, тобто значна кількість опадів, які можливо вночі сніг, дощ і те, що зараз ще сонце не дуже прогріває землю, значна кількість болота допомагає нам.
Російська техніка не може пересуватися болотом, а отже не йде у
Now see them working on the 81mm artillery piece. And now see them wandering around through the muddy little walk paths that they have.
Хоч рашисти тут не сунуть важкою бронею,
You see the Russians in the distance.
не припиняють. Так намагаються, коли полетить їм у відповідь, виявити наші вогневі точки.
Декілька разів на день прильоти. З крупнокаліберних кулеметів обстрілює на даному напрямку. Це там 12,7 кулемети. Ну і маленькі кулемети, тобто 7,62, теж чутно, як вони працюють, але вони там чуть далі, там де інші позиції, тобто до нас не долетають. А сюди в основному це міномети, от приходи мінометів. І що стрілкова зброя.
Відповідь окупантам не забарилася.
Now see them hanging the shell. Wait, that might actually be smaller than an 81 millimeter. That might be like 60 millimeters or something similar.
Піхотинці б'ють по ворогу з мінометів та ручних гранатометів.
Розльот осколків 150 метрів на цьому. Тобто в радіусі 150 метрів буде пораження. Тобто він пробиває техніку, бронежилети пробиває, ну тобто розльот осколків. Да? Цей ефективний десь 300-350 метрів, ефективність його роботи доказана.
Ворог намагається атакувати із неба.
Використовують вони коптери з підвісами, тобто міни туди цепляють або гранати. Декілька разів залітали, скидали. Вони наводять з допомогою коптерів свої міномети. Ну і якщо скупчення, бачать наше скупчення, то теж прилітає.
Втім, активність ворога останній тиждень на підступах до Торецька доволі сильно впала. Військовослужбовці кажуть, багато рашистів забрали під Бахмут.
Більшість сил спрямовано саме на Бахмут. А на цьому напрямку у них не лишилося резервів, лишилася певна кількість людей, якою вони не можуть жертвувати. Вони ніби як вже дуже сильно ослаблені, немов в них таких вже ресурсів людей, і вони вже починають трошки задумувати, що людей як м'ясо пускати не потрібно.
Рашисти, скоріш за все, будуть чекати тут поповнення. І ця
some
невеличка
abandoned Russian
пауза
tanks
нашим
right
захисникам на
there. You
руку.
see some more being
Бо
hit by
треба виграти
artillery.
час, аби ЗСУ отримали нову техніку та пішли у наступ. З передової Владислав Круглов,
I can see our
Євген
viewership
Тур, Олег
dropping like a
Цимбалюк,
brick.
Факти ICTV,
That's probably for the lag.
єдині.
And we can see, oh, look at this cute cat right there. Look at that. I like that cat.
Oh,
Very
nice
cute.
cat.
Very fluffy looking. I'm allergic to cats, though. I like how cats look. I think they're really cute, but at the same time, I'm allergic to them, so I can't really ever get that attached to them. Still, very interesting video showing us the 24th Brigade defending the lines right outside of Orlivka, and very interesting. And with that, we're now moving on to the center of Donetsk, where we saw a Ukrainian helicopter taking flight in the Donbass. You see it negotiating the difficult terrain quite masterfully. Now see him tilting up, firing off the rockets. They're now popping off the flares behind the helicopter and taking a sharp left turn back down towards the tree line. Whenever you watch these helicopters fly, man, it always seems as though it's a miracle that none of them ever crash. Like, the flying that they do always just seems so, like, daring, you know, so risky, really.
Yeah, so low to the ground.
And also that sound is not good either. Like that sound like an egg beater in the back of the helicopter. Have you heard that? That sound, if you hear it?
Yes.
Someone's whisking eggs back there.
I think you got some engine knot going on there, buddy.
We see another wingman back there as they fly on
That's
through the
sick.
fields. That's pretty cool looking. And with that,
Good
that's-
morning, Vietnam.
Good morning, Vietnam! But with that, that's the end of the clip. And very nice to see the Ukrainian helicopter pilots in action, on their very own cameras, nonetheless. Moving on down behind the area of Marinka, we also saw 3 Russian SPGs get destroyed today by artillery. Check it out, y'all. Check it out.
We bounced out. Hey, got the dirt.
We're gonna mute that because that
Man,
is
what
absolute
in the
garbage.
hell was that?
That was straight up garbo, I'll tell you that.
Can we hear that one more time? I doubt that's copyrighted.
I have a feeling it may be, but we'll play it one more time. We'll play it just one more time.
We bounced out. Hey, got the dirt. No, what? Yeah, we bounced out.
That is just straight
That is
up
awful.
terrible. But when you see one Russian SPG turning into to a Roman candle, we bounced out. But, oh my god, who comes up with these songs, man? They need
That's
to
like a
stop.
Russian running through the battlefield. They got on audio and made it beat.
When you see one of the SPGs trying to get out of there. Oh my god, I think our singing's better than that one. That was bad.
Yeah.
Is it playing near the end of the video? Hang on, we gotta find out.
The building is on fire.
Oh dear.
It didn't get better. It just got worse. Oh my god. Wait a minute, Mandy, let me go back to start. Whenever a Wagner soldier runs into the killing fields and he sees all the dead Russians around, this is what he says.
We bounced out. Hey, no, what? Yeah, we bounced out.
Wait a minute, Matthew, hang on.
Oh my god, that's awful.
Hang on, I got this, Matthew. Whenever a Mobic gets told they're going to be a defense unit and then they get put into the assault brigades.
Oh, what? Yeah, we bounced out. We ain't gonna be in no fire. Oh, man.
Oh my god,
That
it's
person was
awful.
definitely drunk when they made that.
Oh man, I don't know what was going on when someone made that. I got to tell you though. Oh
But
man.
Trister is right though. He said thanks for the earworm. That's gonna be stuck in my head all night now.
Man, we bailed out. But anyways, we're on to the next one down to the Volodar area. Oh my god, that's gonna be stuck in my head now. But anyways,
Someone said the Island Boys. It could
just
be.
an island boy. And then they fell off immediately, and then they got so bad. Someone even suggested that they started selling off their jewelry, and then they got up and walked off from the interview. Well, I don't pay attention a lot to celebrities, but I remember for some reason seeing a clip of those guys, and I was like, what the hell? I was like, what the hell is this? This is terrible. Anyways, moving on into the area of Volodymyrivka, we saw the Russians get hit by a peon. Or a peony, as it should be called. Oh my god, we gotta refresh.
And also Paddington, we might put that in the intro if it's not.
Well, I can't guarantee.
Copyrighted,
I
baby.
can't guarantee that. When you see the Russians right here, the field. Oh, peony right to the face. Angry Penguin said, worst song I have ever heard. I would agree.
And
Wait
it's
a
a
minute,
real
one of them
song.
got up? Oh, nope, he fell back down.
It's a real song, by the way. I saw, let's see, it was Vinyl Vish Records. He said the song is called something here. I won't read it off just in case it's copyrighted, but it's real.
Anyways, we see a peon hitting those guys. With that, we're on to the next clip in Mikilske, where we saw some Ukrainian night hunters at work. All right, here we go. Here's the clip. Oh, classical. Some of y'all are going to say that's copyright free. Believe it or not, it's probably not. But we can see a Russian cache blowing up right here. Call them El Chapo because it looks like they won't be getting anything out of this stash. Hardstyle said, that song is awesome! Open your palette! Man, I gotta tell you, I have a very broad and diverse palette of music. That was garbage, though. But I guess you could say, man, that the Russians down here, further down the street, watching that one blow up and burn are going, man, we pass out!
Yeah.
We now see some tracer fire in the night. When you see the Russians still trying to coordinate what they're doing. No spacing whatsoever, though. And the artillery hitting right near them, most likely wounding a large amount of them. Well, you now see that they are wounded because now there's a lot of stragglers and the unit's gotten incredibly disorganized. Another shell lands near them, this time taking out several more of them that are now crawling. We now see another shell land directly. Whoa! Call these guys Lufthansa because they're going international. They just took a flight. We now see some more guys out in the field. And we can just see some guys chilling in the trees.
And you're also literally killing trying to take Alaska. You say he has that nasty bug that's going around. He says, stop making me laugh. It's kicking my ass.
Stop making me... Oh, wait, I can't say that one. But when you see the squad, there's only 4 of them left now. They're now going to all huddle together in a big group so that way the Ukrainians can get them all in one go. Well, I've got to say, y'all, it looks like they're not having a good time in Volodar again. And so that's the end of that video. Once again, Volodar is still a slaughterhouse, much like Bakhmut. And we're now going to be moving further down the line to the area south of Wheelopole, where we saw the 44th Artillery Brigade slamming at the Russians fairly well. You see them lining up that Mr. B. And also we have to mute that. We can also see them firing another artillery
Jeez.
piece. We can now see the Russian trench. They actually dug this one in zigzags, but the shell hit dead inside of it, right on the corner of one, so it traveled down 2 lengths of trench. Very nice. You now see a little Russian outpost there getting hit by the 44th. We can now see them getting hit again. We now see another one burning. Also, Matthew, I'll keep that in mind. I just got your text message. We'll keep that in mind and make sure to limit that down to a low roar. We'll make sure to probably not play that
Somebody
again.
said we were like less than a centimeter away.
Well, I guess you could say, Matthew, now knowing that fact, man, we bounced out. When that playing that one again. Apparently we were really close to probably having YouTube ban us off the platform because there's a word in that song that's a big no-no. But let's see here. Looks like we're having some lag problems again.
Oh, man.
Man, tonight is a tough night. Tonight's gonna be a tough night. I gotta say, man,
Luckily, we hadn't had a night like this in a while, though. It's been, I think, months before we've had like a serious lag problem like this.
It's been months. I don't know what's causing it now, but I guess we'll just... OBS is saying we're fine. YouTube's saying we're not. So I don't know what's up with that, but we're gonna let this keep playing. We can see something get blown up down there that was nice and ammunition-y. Arnie said, "Stop yelling!" And then I yelled that out. Sorry. Sorry, I know that probably is blowing out y'all's eardrums. I'm sorry. Oh, man. Now everyone's saying, I want to hear the song. No, you don't. And we can't play it again. Oh my god, man, our graph tonight on YouTube is looking horrendous. Like, there are just giant gaps where, like, the viewers have been eaten by, like, the internet issue. We can now see
That looks
fires.
like a Russian loss chart.
Yeah, man, it looks bad. It looks terrible. Oh, man. Oh, it looks terrible. Oh, man. You're telling me. Oh. But with that, that's the end of the clip. And you can see the 44th Brigade was really getting them good down there. Moving well behind the lines near the area of Andriivka on the Zaporizhzhia front, we also saw some MiG-29s taking flight today. Also, there's music in this one. But we can see him doing a nice roll and then looking back at his wingman, flying in close formation with those absolutely bussing AGM-88 harms, which you can clearly see underslung on the wing. Exquisite. Cool. Do you know how exquisite that is, Matthew?
Expensive.
Expensive, and not only expensive, simply it's exquisite. I was very interested to see that wasn't an R-73 or something similar. Well, actually not an R-73, it's like an R-27 or something like that.
You know, something that I learned yesterday is that the fighter pilots have rear view mirrors in the cockpit, like you just saw right there.
What, you didn't know that?
No, I never knew that. I never focused on it. But now it's like, it actually is rear view mirrors.
So what's interesting about the MiG-29 and the Su-27s is that they do have rear view mirrors because the rear side of the cockpit, you can't really see out of too well, and I'll explain why. A MiG-29 has to have those mirrors. Why you will never see that, for the most part, in any American jet, although you will every once in a while. If you look at the MiG-29, notice how the fuselage connects with the cockpit at a pretty high level. There's not a lot of canopy to a MiG-29's cockpit glass. You know, it's really just more so for looking out the direct sides, 90-degree left, 90-degree right, not really for looking behind you. So to get around that, they had to make these mirrors on the front rim of the closable part of the canopy, so that way the pilots could see directly behind them, because otherwise if they try and turn around, they can't. But if you look at an F-16's cockpit, you'll notice that there is no way to look behind you with mirrors. In fact, there's a picture of the cockpit of an F-16 right there. There is no, I guess you could say, seam where the canopy connects, except it's behind the pilot. And they have an incredible field of view. F-16s have a far improved field of view for the pilots, you know, with just turning their heads around, than a MiG-29 does. So they don't need the mirrors. But I think the F-15s have them. Let me check that.
Interesting.
No, actually, the F-15 doesn't have them either, because it's got a really nice cockpit with a great line of sight. Like, here's a video showing you how well a F-15 pilot can see behind them. They can literally see anything that's behind them as long as it's above them. So, a very interesting little fact about the Russian MiGs and SUs is that they always have to have some kind of mirrors in the cockpit, otherwise they really can't see behind the jet. Which is a huge
I see some
hindrance.
folks saying that all U.S. fighters have mirrors, but that's not so because we just saw they didn't.
I don't know how in the world you're putting a mirror in an F-16's cockpit considering there's nowhere to attach them. Like, let me go back and look at that again. Yeah, there's nowhere to attach them in an F-16.
Wait, the canopies, that's
a simulator.
Simulator, though.
Yeah, let me go find... Here's a real one. Well, the canopy's open on that one. Let me go down to another one. Let me find it eventually. Let's see here. You know what? War Thunder's good enough. Here's a picture of War Thunder, the cockpit. No mirrors, and it's also, there's no way to connect it like you normally would. There are some in an F4, like an F4 Phantom, although we don't have those in service anymore. They would have mirrors. There's a picture of one right there. You can see the mirrors visibly inside of the F4's cockpit. The F-18, I think it may have mirrors in the cockpit. Nope, it doesn't. Wait a minute. No, correction. It has 3 very small ones. That's interesting.
Well, I'll take it back then. Y'all are probably right.
But hang on. We got to go back to the F-15. I don't think the F-15 does. And let's see. It does, according to DCS World. So we're going to say the only
Enforcer.
one. I got it wrong. I got to correct myself. Let me eat my foot real quick.
Call him out. Call him out.
Clickbait. He's clickbaiting. Oh my God, he's clickbait. He's been lying to y'all forever. But let me eat my foot here because they do all have mirrors except for the F-16. So sorry about that. I got that wrong, everyone. So with that, we're now moving on into our next bit of news further down the line in Kharkiv, where we saw a Ukrainian technical at work. Also, A-10s do have mirrors as well. Sorry, y'all. I forgot about that one, too. You know what? I'm just going to end the stream tonight. I'm just kidding. But, yeah. Sorry, y'all. I did get that wrong. Only the F-16 doesn't have mirrors, but everything else does. And so with that,
he knows how to use it.
He does know how to use it. He does know how to use it. And so with that, I hope that addresses that video fairly well. Because Matthew threw me off there, and I almost said that like we were addressing a question. Very interesting to see them using a technical. It appears to not be mounted onto the truck. They just use the truck as a rest for the bipod on the gun. Still, while I hiccup over here because the coffee is
falling apart over there.
Oh my God, man! I get no respect around here. Oh man, I'm falling apart over here. I'm mentally breaking down. But still, very neat to see the technical in action, and it's a Toyota nonetheless. And so with that, or a Nissan.
I think it was a Mitsubishi Triton.
Oh God! Anyways, we're moving on up. That's all the Frontline news we had for today. We're moving on up to the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky. Please do not judge. Here's the speech. Oh man, I'm sorry when I was messing up all through the last like 10 minutes of this, but here's the clip.
Українці, українки, сьогодні я хотів би підтримати всі ті наші міста і громади, які щодня, щоночі зазнають жорстоких терористичних ударів держави зла. Наша Херсонщина і Херсон, якому окупант мститься за свій програш. Наше Запоріжжя, наші міста Донеччини і Луганщини, які Росія прагне просто спалити. Наша Харківщина і Харків. І лише по Харкову, і лише від початку цього року, менш ніж за 2,5 місяці, ворог ударив вже більш ніж 40 ракетами. Нікополь, Марганець, наша Дніпропетровщина, наша Сумщина, наша Чернігівщина, ракети і артилерії, безпілотники і міномети. Держава зло використовує різну зброю, але з однією метою, з метою знищити життя і не залишити нічого людського, руїни, уламки, воронки від снарядів у автопортрет Росії, який вона малює там, де без Росії панує нормальне життя. Сьогодні російський обстріл забрав життя людей у Херсоні, які просто пішли в магазин за продуктами. 3 українців загинули. Мої співчуття рідним. У Запоріжжі російська ракета вдарила по об'єкту життєзабезпечення міста. В прикордонних районах окупант обстрілював села, щоб залякати людей, щоб прогнати людей. Але Росії там не буде. Вона стала синонімом терору і стане прикладом поразки і справедливого покарання за цей терор. Покарання, яке Кремлю не зупинити. Я дякую сьогодні нашим бійцям ОСУ «Північ» за знищення ракети і шахеду терористів, бійці нашого ППО на Чернігівщині, бійці 2-го окремого полку Нацгвардії на Сумщині. Дякую вам, хлопці. Дякую всім нашим бійцям на півдні, які знищують склади, логістику, місця розташування окупантів. Кожна підірвана ворожа позиція – це врятовані українські життя. ОСУ Хортиця. Особливо відзначу сьогодні 92-го окрему механізовану бригаду імені Івана Сірка, 80-ту бригаду наших десантників, 5-ту окрему штурмову бригаду. Всі вони разом з іншими нашими воїнами боронять Бахмут. Дякую за силу. Є за що подякувати 54-й окремій механізованій бригаді імені гетьмана Мазепи і 81-й окремій аеромобільній бригаді, які діють на Донбасі. Молодці хлопці. Дякую всім, хто допомагає нашим підрозділам. Дякую кожному і кожній, хто підтримує наших цивільних людей у прифронтових та прикордонних районах. Дякую всім, хто переконує світ, що потрібно саме зараз проявити більш рішучості. Зараз, коли ми готуємо наші активні дії проти окупанта, щоб кожен постріл по українцях відізвався державі-терористу відповідальністю. І ще одне. Є новий наш санкційний крок проти фізичних та юридичних осіб, пов'язаних з державою злом. Відповідний указ оприлюднений. Це більше 280 компаній і 120 людей, які через схеми з гральним бізнесом працювали проти України, виводили кошти з нашої держави та фінансували різні російські комбінації. Рішення готувалося певний час, воно ґрунтовно пропрацьовано і закриває схеми на десятки мільярдів. І це не останнє таке рішення. Україна захищатиметься всюди і всіма цивілізованими засобами. Слава кожному і кожній, хто зараз в бою за нашу державу. Слава усім, хто допомагає. Світла пам'ять усім, чиї життя забрав російський терор. Слава Україні!
And with that is the end of the speech from President Volodymyr Zelensky, and that wraps up our day 381 news segment. We're about to be moving into the question segment. We're going to be addressing all of the super chats that have been sent in and as many live chats as possible. Of course, I have to thank everyone so much once again for coming tonight and watching this news. It is a high honor to us that so many of y'all come on each and every night to watch the news that we cover. And we are more than happy to know that we are able to provide that service to y'all, and hopefully well. Of course, the last 10 minutes of the stream before we got to the speech from Zelensky, I gotta be honest to y'all, was on shaky ground, because I was getting just about everything wrong for the past 10 minutes. But still, nonetheless, I hope y'all have enjoyed tonight. We're about to be moving on into the question segment, addressing all of our polls first, then the super chats, then the live chats. Remember, and I want to make sure that this is clear, you can watch this stream almost as two separate things. You can go the entire time watching this channel and never watch the second part, and it wouldn't really mean much of a difference as far as the news you're getting as with what's going on in the war. Of course, the question segment's a lot of fun. We love it. This is actually Matthew and my favorite part of the stream, because the news is great, you know, and we cover the news and everything, but in the question segment, we get to talk to all of y'all the entire time, laugh with all of y'all, make jokes that become inside jokes in our community, the Lee Spring Army. It's incredible. It's great. And also, we get to take a really good look at places like Sorrento that was covered in the last question segment. So if any of y'all ever send in a super chat or a live chat with a question and say where you are in the world, we will go and check it out, because we love to see stuff like that. I personally love to see stuff like that. We've seen so many cool places like Sorrento. We've seen, let me go up to the Netherlands and find it. the little fort town over here somewhere. Naarden. We saw Naarden. We saw Pucón in Chile. We've seen so many cool places, and those are just to name a few. And so with that, we're now moving on into that question segment. And before we get to the questions, we've got to get to the polls. So with that, what do we got, Matthew?
All right, so, of course, we have 4 polls to address. And the very first one says, Wagner soldiers are being replaced by Russian soldiers in Bakhmut, as we covered yesterday. And the question is Bakhmut still an uphill battle for Ukraine? 51% said yes, it's still very precarious for Ukraine. 12% said unsure. 15% said, it's leveling out for Ukraine. And 22% said no, Ukraine is swinging it their way. And on this one, I think it is still precarious for Ukraine, but they might be swinging it their way slightly. But it's still very dangerous there. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would say the Battle of Bakhmut is developing in an interesting way. I gotta be honest with you, Matthew. I know the viewers aren't gonna hear this, but every time you stop talking, Matthew, I heard every single molecule of spit in your mouth move. Like you'd be like,
I was trying to hold in from coughing, just that's why.
Dude, I can hear all of it. I was like, oh my god. I was like, this is gross. As I hear this, oh man, that's right. And I was like, it's like every sentence. I was like, dang, this microphone is picking up everything. But it's no big deal. To address what's going on in Bakhmut, Bakhmut is a precarious situation still, and while the Ukrainians are holding it incredibly well, way beyond anyone's expectations, I still think it's actually the belief of Matthew and me that it's probably not a smart idea to try and hold Bakhmut when the Ukrainians could fall back to Chasiv Yar and probably have as good a defensive position as there and save a lot of manpower. One thing that I would like to see at this point, it's never really been much of a concern to me, is the loss to kill ratio that the Ukrainians are taking compared to the Russians in Bakhmut. Because if we could actually get those numbers, that would allow us to either understand where the Ukrainians are coming from, because of the loss to kill rate is incredibly low, like they're losing 5 guys for every 15 Russians that are killed, or 1 out of every 3. I could see why they're staying there. But if they're almost losing like 1 to 2 or 1 to 1 in Bakhmut, I wouldn't see it. The loss reports specifically just for the Battle of Bakhmut would be incredibly crucial in understanding why they're still there and why they're still fighting. I still think it's dangerous just from the frontline perspective. We can see that the claws that the Russians have on the outskirts from the west of Bakhmut are still there, and they could close this entire area with one good push that for some reason caught the Ukrainians off guard, and they could start a siege of Bakhmut. So it is a precarious situation, to say the least. Hopefully we'll see that the Ukrainians are able to slowly withdraw from the town or inflict a maximum amount of casualties and hold the town either way, but it is still somewhat difficult. And so with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next poll says, without knowing Ukraine's losses, would you still say is a success? 12% said undecided, 27% said I'm leaning toward a success, and 13% said no, we have to have the losses to know for certain. And on this one, I'm going to say I'm leaning toward a success, but like I've said multiple times, without having the loss information, it's really hard to tell if they're breaking even with troop losses or not, because the Ukrainian commanders have said that the losses are extraordinarily heavy, but obviously that's a very vague statement, and we really don't know what to take out of that. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would say they are doing fairly well, much better than anyone expected. Of course, a lot of people out there said that the Ukrainians were going to withdraw from Bakhmut completely about 2 weeks ago. Call them out, and they still haven't. They're still there. So they're doing well beyond my expectations, but once again, we don't really know how good this is for them. In terms of the losses that they're taking versus the Russians. So with that, I hope that addresses that poll fairly well. Also, everyone's saying that Matthew was cutting out again. He was, but I understood it enough that I could address the poll. Yeah, you've been cutting in and out when you were saying that last part. You'd be like, the Russians in Bakhmut, they say, and it's like that. It's like, God, the internet is our worst enemy tonight. The worst. But anyways, with that, I hope we addressed that poll fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And also, we have a bot in the chat. I'm going to bully this bot. His name is Bland0. He says, how we doing, LSA? Everyone get a clown shoes. Bingo.
What?
And earlier he said, what is this, a clown show or something? How's everybody going? I said, better than you, apparently. So he went quiet, and then he came back with that lame message he just repeated again.
Clown shoes bingo. Who the hell goes to bingo wearing clown shoes?
I don't even know. He must be an Amerifatty.
He must be a Russo-well.
What's that mean?
A Russian whale. A Russo-well.
Oh.
Call this man Flipper. I guess he's out there getting that beluga. But anyways, I hope we addressed that fairly well. We'll be waiting to see if the bot's got a response.
He's got a buddy. He's got Yoda. He said, clearly clowns. This bot came in a pair of two.
Matthew, they're single-handedly shutting down our whole channel. Oh my god. We're done for. What are we going to do,
I think
Matthew?
it's going to do.
And now it's reconnected. Dang,
Man, I'm going to lose it for the nights out.
I'm going to lose it. I'm going to go mental over here. And then Snake of us said, Kami DDoS? Maybe. Maybe. But
man, emotional damage.
Emotional damage. But oh man. Call him out. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens to the bots. Matthew will probably get him here soon after the chat calms down from saying, lag. But anyways, with that, we're on to the next one.
All right. And our next poll says, let's see. Electricity is restored in Kharkiv. Are Russia's infrastructure attacks detrimental to Ukraine's stability? 49% said, Ukraine is, yes.
What?
Lag?
No, you were doing fine.
Okay. 49% said, they have and are adapting. 39% said yes, civilian lives are upended. 4% said unsure, and 9% said no, the civilians aren't bothered. And I think the Ukrainians are adapting to the situation. They know there's only so much military can do to prevent missiles from hitting cities. They've done a really good job shooting down most of them up to this point, with the exception being the hypersonic missiles, which we can't fault them for not getting those because we can't even get them. But Enforcer, what say you?
They've not been doing that bad. The last missile attack, though, even in terms of conventional missiles, it wasn't as good as before. But counting out the hypersonics, a 50% interception rate is not that bad by most standards, although it is getting towards the lower end. So I'd say it's acceptable, but for the last missile attack, there is room for improvement, and hopefully they can get back up towards the 80 and 90% interception rates that they were getting on some of the prior missile attacks before. So with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and we have another poll to address. Let me see where it has disappeared to, because it is not in my line of sight. Here we go. All kinds of issues tonight. I get no respect. The control panel is not respecting me tonight.
I get no respect around here. I've tried to open up the control panel, and the control panel's got no control. Oh, man, it's getting bad, real bad. Oh, terrible. Oh, bad.
Well, luckily, I found a little bit of respect from the control panel, and the last poll says, reports say that Wagner is refusing to pay death benefits to the families of soldiers, and what are your thoughts? 61% said maybe they will get cake instead. 4% said unsure. 22% said, they may have run out of some money. And 14% said, I'm shocked about that. Bad Wagner. I'm not shocked about that one bit. Wagner doesn't care about the people they hire. We've known that forever. They must have ran out of some money. That might be sensible because Prighozin is griping every single day about he doesn't have ammo, and also that he's been cut off from his best friend over there in the Kremlin. Maybe they'll get cake instead. I'm going to go with the 61%. But Enforcer, what say you?
I would say they're probably going to get cake. And so with that, we're on to the next. I'm just kidding. I would say they're probably going to get cake. We've known that they're running out of money for a good while. I would not doubt it at all that they're going to get some cheap like water park tickets or cake or something similar. So with that, I hope we address that poll fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And it is now time to move on from the polls that were giving me a hard time as I couldn't barely see them.
But before
and
we
move
do,
on
Matthew,
to our super chat questions.
Before we do, Matthew, I would like to do one thing, and I think this may fix our internet issues. The lag stops now. All right, so hopefully that fixes the lag.
Damn. Oh, man. Don't rack the shotgun. Put away the 9, Timmy.
Oh, no, Jamal. Don't pull out the 9. But hopefully that fixes the internet. So, Matthew, right now, Matthew, the little internet goblins that like work in the computer to keep the internet running said, "Uh-oh, boss is angry. Quick, keep the internet running." So hopefully that.
What do you think this is? The Flintstones or something? Like they have a little bird in there talking about, Mac, stop pushing me so hard, would you?
Of course, there's a little goblin down in every computer that runs the internet. So anyways, hopefully that fixes the problem. If that actually did fix the problem, I will be laughing till the cows come home, because it's so far, knock on wood. But I don't think we're having a lag problem right now, which it kind of seems like it's time for one. But with that, we are very reading, Matthew. He said, what, you'll blow your lung out, kid. But anyways,
yeah, remember, a 9mm blows the lung out the body. Never forget that.
Clean out, right out the mouth. It's like a cartoon. But anyways, let's get on into the questions.
All right, and up first, from our super chats, we have a very generous $50 donation from John Webster. And he says, for the drone fund, and let's get the 231st what they need in Slava Ukraine.
Hey, and thank you so much for the support to the drone fund. Of course, we're going to be getting them one, and I thank y'all so much for supporting us and helping us to keep this channel running, because it's not, I want to make this clear, because, I don't want anyone to think that, because this is going to start, like, murking the waters on the super chats. Super chats are to support the channel. I thank y'all for supporting us. We're going to be buying the drone for them straight out of our own funds, so that's the super chats pretty much. We're just doing it really because we heavily respect the 231st. They also helped us out with that fundraiser on the year anniversary with the battle flag, and they deserve a drone. They're owed a drone, and so we will be getting them one. And I got to thank you so much for the support to this channel, helping us keep running, and also putting that towards the drone fund, so that way we can get them that drone. And so thank you so much once again. I hope I addressed that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and up next we have that $50 donation from Backyard Racing. And it's good to see you once again, and hopefully, like the Enforcer said, you build that other track. And Backyard Racing says, move to Nashville, boys, and get that fiber.
I could get that fiber from Nature Valley, you know what I mean? You can run like a whole gig through a Nature Valley bar, but I'm just kidding.
Yes.
Maybe one day we will move to Nashville and go find ourselves some good Wi-Fi. Serenity now!
It's like I said in the chat. Also, Brad Sloan said, bozo. Well, guess what? You're now a bozo that's been banned.
Rip bozo.
I'm going off on these bots tonight. They don't stand a chance.
Oh, man. You done goofed. But let's see here. Let's drop down in the middle of Nashville and see what it looks like. Nah, Washington. Like they say in Russia. Nah, Washington. Nah, Washington. Oh, my God, man. It's... You know what? I feel like I need tech support. Wow, actually, this is nice.
Oh,
hang on.
It actually is pretty nice.
Hang on. Let me see if this will fix this. Load the other side of the street now. It didn't. Oh, it did. Oh my God, it did.
No.
Yeah,
no, it didn't work.
It did. Look, now it's loading everything in like seconds, except for it did. All right, we're doing that for we're doing that for the rest of the night if we have to. If that's what keeps the internet goblins running everything, we will do it. But wow, such a nice place. We drove through Nashville before on the interstate, but that doesn't allow you to see what it looks like. This place is really nice.
I remember when we stopped in Nashville that we went by that coffee store and the guy almost like shot up the coffee store because he missed his drink.
Oh no, that was Chattanooga.
Oh well, it's the same thing.
It actually looks like, Matthew, it didn't fix the internet problem. So apparently that isn't keeping the internet goblins in line. So, yeah, look at that. That's aggravating to say the least. But yeah, that was they said something like Jeremy, and his name was like Jeremiah or something like, I don't know. He got pissed off and he like literally like went, and then he ran out of the store without grabbing the coffee. And we were like, I forgot his name though, his real name.
And he was there too. So he ran off to go get his boys and come back, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like they had like when we were leaving the Starbucks, we saw a whole gang coming back to the Starbucks with Jimmy. Yeah, it was Jimmy. That was his name. It was Jimmy.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Whole gang was coming back with Jimmy, and they were going to, go around and knock him around a little bit. But with that, I thank you so much once again for the support, and I hope we did address that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you for helping this channel to keep on running.
And our another bot, Terra 007, who thinks he's James Bond or something, said, "Putin, please nuke USA." Oh, let's examine that logic for a minute. That Russian logic. I wonder if Putin nuked the USA. I wonder what would happen to Russia. Does anybody have any guesses?
They would get more chocolate cake.
Yes, that's the answer, comrade. Bliat.
It's just that it wouldn't be made out of chocolate, comrade. It'd be made out of the contents of their pants after they found out what happened after they launched their nukes, Bliat. But anyways, with it, we're on to the next one. And Matthew, put that butt down. Put it down, Bliat.
Oh yeah, I put him down ages ago.
Oh man,
I was just mocking him.
Little Jam said, "Let's get him!" Like it's a gang in the 40s. Hey, let's get him! And then they start beating them up. But anyways, with that, we're on to the next one.
And the next one is from Panama Floyd, who puts in a $20 donation and says, "Enforcer Matt, wasn't that paper target in the Ukraine training video the old one from the FBI that had Al Capone on it? When I first started shooting in the 1970s, they were everywhere, and y'all never seen one at the range, question mark."
Never seen one of them at the range, actually, to be honest with you, Panama. And whenever I go to the range, what's always... I don't want to say that, but we always get this one target. It's like blue, and it's got a red bullseye in the middle of a torso, and that's the target that pretty much is at every range now. So I've never seen the Al Capone one. But I have seen others that kind of fill the same role. But still, I thank you for the support. I hope that does address that fairly well. But sadly, I've never seen that one before. But with that, of course, Matthew, you know what we're about to do. We're about to move on to the next one. But thank you once again for the support.
Yes, indeed. And also to QUAAD test said, "What type of drone are you guys planning to buy?"
Most likely
I think we're going for a
DJI
Mavic 3, but there you go. I was just about to say that too, but Enforcer said it anyway. But yes, very capable little drone, and they'll make really good use out of it, I'm very sure. Because they have been. We've been seeing it on video. But anyways, up next, we have a $20 donation from BC Skyman, and sadly, he does not leave a comment. But BC, thank you very much. Everyone in this chat and on the stream knows you are a channel legend, and we appreciate you very much. And Enforcer, what say you?
I gotta tell you, man, I remember the actual emoji that was on that super chat when it was sent in, Matthew, and it was a whole freaking hippo, and it was just shaking what it had, if you know what I mean. It was just going off. I mean, like, that thing was busting it down. That's like, I'm not even lying. So I thank you so much for the support, BC Skyman, and I hope that it addresses that fairly well. And thank you so much for being an Old Guard channel legend and helping this thing to keep on running. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and up next we have a $20 super chat from Superbunker 9000, our member of NAFO in the chat, along with a few others as well. And Superbunker says, "Proud member of Amerifatti LSA." Chat question, please.
And I thank you for the support, Superblanca 9000, while I just shred my wrist on the side of my desk. That's what y'all heard. And I thank you so much for helping this thing to keep on running, Superblanca. You're a proud citizen of the Lee Spring Army, proud soldier of the Lee Spring Army, and also a dual citizen of NAFO, too. And I got to thank you so much for being a member of the Lee Spring Army. It means a lot to us that NAFO, which is an incredibly large and very effective organization all across the internet, that y'all would come over here and be a part of the Lee Spring Army. And I got to thank you so much for that. And also, I hope I addressed that fairly well. And thank you so much once again for helping this channel to keep on running. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again. Thank you very much.
And I got my Amerifatti hat on order. Like, I didn't even tell the Enforcer that yet, but that hat is busting, and I'm going to go around repping the Amerifatti set all day long. I'm sure the Enforcer is too.
Oh, I'm going to be repping that thing. I'm going to get the trucker cap. I know I'm getting a trucker cap. Did you already order one?
I did, actually. I went ahead and got one.
No way. You're kidding right now. I'm like, you made that design today, and you've already pre-ordered one?
Yeah, I mean, I knew it was like a hit. Like, once I made it, I was like, I got to get one. And I know everybody's going to be upset. They're going to be like, why? How come you can order one before us? Don't worry. Tuesday. It's right around the corner.
Tuesday, everyone. Make sure to show up on Tuesday. But with that, we are on to the next one. I didn't even know Matthew had done that. But thank you once again for the support, Superbunker. And I'm proud to know that you are an Amerifatti along with us. And with that, on to the next one.
All right. And Up next, we have a $20 super chat from Andy Schrum, who says, Enforcer and Enforcer Matt, I'm catching up, but one cannot simply make a JFK joke without one, calling him President Kennedy, and number two, saying it's okay because you still have, hopefully this isn't bad, but I'm going to read off anyway, because you still have your Bobby Kennedy Pez dispenser.
Oh. Well, I think the support. Yeah, he was president.
Was it bad?
No, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad, but you know, could be worse. So thank you for the support. And you know, I gotta say, I thought it was I thought the JFK jokes had aged well. You know, it's been 60 years. But it seems that the joke was a little edgy. But still, I thank you for the support and helping us to keep this thing rolling. And I will make sure to keep those rules in mind the next time we make a JFK joke. It's really mind-blowing to me to think that JFK jokes are sometimes, you know, I guess you could say a real mind stopper for some. You know, it's crazy to think, you know, I would limousine my way into talking about it, but I feel like it's not really an open top conversation. But with that, I hope that addresses that fairly well. Thank you once again for the support, and I hope you enjoyed all of those JFK jokes that were just shoved into that one statement. And with that, we are on to the next one, and thank you once again.
All right, and next we have a $20 super chat from Marion Deemer, who says, I love how Matthew hits those bots. We have someone without a name posting. Why? And I haven't seen them.
And where was that question? Oh, we have someone without a name posting. Why? We've gotten super chats from people without a name or a comment before, which was really weird. Like the FBI just
I think it might be from the Fed.
Yeah, the Fed just hops in. Hey, I like the show. And then puts in $20 on a government credit card and then bounces. But still, I thank you so much for the support, Barry. And we're always looking out for the nameless people. They're very rare, and we don't know where they come from. We've been told that people in high places watch this show, but I don't know if they get nameless accounts. Like, I don't know if that's what happens to them or what. But with that, thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one. And also, Matthew does get the bots incredibly well. He does a great job at that.
Oh, thank you.
No problem.
And also, Ancient Gabriel, did you know that Zelensky was on Letterman, LOL? And yes, I did, actually. I think Forcer does, too.
Yes, I did. He was on Letterman. Letterman did interview him. Letterman has grown out a massive beard. Like, he doesn't look like the Letterman that used to be on the Letterman show. But with that...
Yeah, what happened to him?
I don't know, man. I mean, like, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. He just grew out a massive beard. That's all. Like, that's the only thing that's changed. For some reason, that beard is like completely changed, like, my perception of him. I don't know why, but it's not a bad beard. I'm not saying I have a problem with this beard. You know, it's one hell of a beard. But it's just not, for some reason, like, clicking with me that that's really Letterman anymore. But anyways, with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and up next, we have a $17 donation from Rustin Rott, who says, what is the most significant line item in the daily losses? Is it tanks, personnel, anti-aircraft systems, etc.?
Can you reread the line real quick?
What is the most significant line item in the daily losses? Is it tanks, personnel, anti-aircraft systems, etc.?
The most significant losses are the armored vehicles, the APCs, and the tanks. Because the more APCs and tanks that the Russians lose, the more offensive abilities they lose by the day. Tanks and armored personnel carriers are inherently offensive vehicles. If you look at the origin of the tank, which gives you a good idea of what they're supposed to be used for, tanks were designed to break through barbed wire, crawl over trenches, and assault enemy positions with support from the infantry. That was the main origin and design process of the tank. That idea still exists to this day. It is an offensive weapon. And the fact that they're losing tons of them, at least a dozen a day at this point, that means that we will probably see that the Russians will start to lose a lot of their offensive abilities, like they kind of have already, as they lose more tanks and they can use them less. And so with that, I thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And also, I see some folks getting upset that we were talking about Letterman's beard. I mean, if he would shave the beard off, he'd probably look 10 years younger, would be my guess.
No,
we all know him for that one look. And he ought to go back to it because I don't know about the beard.
Let's see here. David Letterman. I'm going to find him. So, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the beard. Let me make that clear. Nothing's wrong with the beard. The beard looks fine.
But you can hardly recognize him, though.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, for some reason, like, it doesn't click in my head anymore. It takes a while to recognize that that is this Letterman. Like, I don't know what it is, but the beard, like, throws off the facial recognition system in my head, and I can't recognize Letterman on the spot anymore. That's
Maybe
like,
that's what he's going for. He's trying to, like, live a normal life without being, like, a celebrity.
maybe. Or maybe he's trying to keep my wife's name out. I'm just playing around, but anyways, I gotta tell you, Letterman was a great nightly show host, great guy, and kind of gave me a little bit of inspiration on how we run this show. So I got nothing but respect for Letterman. I got nothing but respect for a lot of the earlier television hosts, including Johnny Carson. But the beard, I don't know. The beard throws me off because I can't recognize Letterman anymore, just like right off the bat. But with that, we're now going to be moving on to the next one. Hello?
From Rotormax, who says, "Hey guys, thanks for the news and never a dull moment." And thank you very much, Rotormax. We try our best not to make it dull.
And thank you for the support, Rotormax. And thank you for enjoying that there's not a dull moment on the stream. We try our best to make sure that there isn't a dull moment, and I'm glad to know that we have been able to reach that mark with you, Rotormax. And so thank you so much once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running, so that way we can make sure that there won't be a dull moment until the end of time. And so with that, thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that fairly well. And also, I've seen some people saying Johnny Carson was better than David. Oh, come on, y'all. I mean, like Johnny Carson had a whole different format. Like I guess you could say like a whole different like showman style than David Letterman. I mean, like, it's a preference thing, you know. It's not really like a so-and-so's better. I mean, like, both of them were great, and David Letterman also topped the charts when he was running his Tonight Show. I believe he actually got higher ratings than Johnny Carson. But at the same time, they were two different styles, and I guess it's just one or the other. To be honest with y'all, I like Johnny Carson and Letterman just about the same. I mean, like, both of them were really unique, really special, did their own kind of presentation formats. But, you know, no one can deny that Johnny Carson was the king of nightly talk shows. He was the original nightly talk show. He was like the only one on air from like the 1960s to about the mid-1980s. So there's no way you can't like him, because he was the guy who pretty much brought about the Tonight Show format the way it is now. So with that, I hope that addresses that.
I think Walter Cronkite probably had the best talk show of them all.
Wait a minute, what? Wait, hang on. I thought Walter Cronkite did the news, Matthew. Let me check. Was an American broadcast journalist. Yeah, he's not a talk show guy. He was like a newsman. I was like, Walter Cronkite wasn't a nightly show guy.
My objective with that was you're supposed to laugh and move on. You didn't know that he was a reporter. He wasn't like a talk show host.
Yeah, I knew he wasn't, but I had to pull it up just to make sure. I was like, maybe he did become a talk show host near the later point of his career, but I was like, I don't remember that, you know. But anyways,
no.
Anyways, we're on to the next one, I guess.
And the next one goes to Stan Pollard, who puts in a 15 and says, "I'm surprised that the Russians are still gaining ground. And what is the ratio? 3-1. And why is Ukraine not gaining any ground like they did last year? It's because they're short of." And that was the end of it.
Well, I thank you for the support. The Russians, if you're saying that gaining like 3 city blocks is gaining ground, then yes, they are. But in the big scheme of things, if that's how fast they're going on a day-by-day basis, we're going to be waiting until the next 3 centuries later for them to ever take the Donbass. So I thank you for the support. The Ukrainians are not making any ground right now because they're not conducting any offensives right now. And we'll probably see those coming around in the future. Not yet, though, but it probably will be within the next month or two. So with that, I hope that does address the comment fairly well. And thank you once again for the support. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, in the next one, I see a bot, but we'll check on him in a minute. But up next, we have a $15 super chat from Streb, who says, back in January, RUZ said that they were preparing to get the Armada 14 into Ukraine to counter the Leopard 2s coming in. And have we yet seen any T-14s in action in Ukraine? And by the way, check out Krakow, Poland.
Oh, we will check that out immediately. Krakow. Let's see here. If I remember correctly, there was a concentration camp here at some point. I think that's actually Dachau. I think there may have been one here as well. But let me pull it up. I gotta find that out now.
I think it is Dachau.
No, there's a concentration camp at Krakow as well. Oh, well. Anyways, let's look at the town. Let's not focus on the dark past that happened in the Second World War, unfortunately, because the Germans were here. Let's focus on what it looks like. Wow, damn. This thing is wild, blurred out. It's a CIA strong point. It's blurred out, y'all. National security. But wow, this is a nice town. I feel like the U.S. has lied to us, Matthew, because we always hear over here, oh, everything in Europe was destroyed to the ground. You know, from the Soviet Union all the way to Berlin, everything was just flattened, and a lot of these buildings look like they were built in like the mid-19th century, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a really higher like standard of architecture over there. I know the buildings are old and they've been there for a while, but I mean, they drive around Mercedes trucks for their garbage truck. I mean, how much more Gucci can you get than that?
I mean, like, this place is gorgeous. I've got to tell you, I'm a huge fan of towns that have a lot of old architecture in them because it just has so much character and so much beauty and detail to it. It's unbelievably impressive. And what's this building right here in the city square? Market Hall with a Polish art museum. It's called the Cloth Hall. Dang, what a building. Wow, look at... Dude, this is crazy looking.
They still build like their places so that people like actually interact with each other and they don't just like stay in their car like everywhere they go.
Yeah, I hate car infrastructure. Like, you know, there should be some, like, the problem, well, it's a whole deal to talk about in America because car infrastructure is the way things are made. You can't really even reverse it now because everything's made that way. But I really love the idea of actually being able to take a walk through town. Like, you know, if you take a walk through Birmingham, you risk getting mugged or shot. Like, you know, that's just like, that's like a fact. Because, you know, I don't know how to explain it. But anyways, this town is absolutely beautiful. Also, goat with a pipe. It's playing a flute.
Man, Amera fatty.
man, are you in Edgar's Bakery? Because you got a whole dump truck down. Oh man, this is a beautiful town, though. I've got to say, really beautiful. And also, could you reread their super? Wait a minute, there's a McDonald's here. What is
America's always in there somewhere.
What is a Polish McDonald's? Oh look. It's the wine cellar. You eat in the wine cellar.
Come
That's
on
cool.
now. They even have a better McDonald's than us.
Wow, I mean, like, look at this. Dang.
This is a whole attraction, this McDonald's. Look at that thing there.
Yeah, that thing. I don't know what the hell that is. But, man. Dang.
Zamao.
Zamao. I don't know how to speak Polish. Sorry, everyone. But look at that dude. That's a steak.
That is a thick, thick burger.
I don't even think that's a burger, man. I think that's a steak.
I don't know if it's like double the cost is like here, or is it the same?
This pisses me off, man. How come we can't get this stuff in America? You know what I mean?
Really, McDonald's can do it there, but they can't do it here? Like, they're trying to do it as cheap as possible. They know our standards are lower.
Look at this. They got a toothpick in it. What? You know what?
Maestro burger.
You know what? We're leaving because that's just stupid that we don't have that kind of stuff here. You know? Like, you go to McDonald's here, you can't even get the right order, ever. And then over there, you got gourmet hamburgers with little toothpicks in them. And that's when you know that you've made it to high qualities, when the little toothpicks in them. That's just it. I love your city. It's beautiful. Kind of pisses me off that we can't, like, even on the basic level, like a McDonald's, we don't get that kind of stuff over here anywhere. But with that, can you...
Also, Strep said, don't forget the question because we're forgetting it.
Yes.
Let's see. The question is, back in January, Russia said that they were preparing to get the Armata 14 into Ukraine to counter the Leopard 2s coming in. And have we seen any T-14s in action in Ukraine?
We've never seen a T-14 in action. They did say that. They will never make it to Ukraine, however, because all of the T-14s that they have are pre-production models. There are I think there's like 4 or maybe even 10 of them that are actual series production models. They're incredibly expensive to make. They're a little bit more expensive than even Western tanks. And on top of that, they have a lot of teething problems still, and that's why they haven't gone into mass production. Is because 1, they're expensive, and 2, they're very prone to breaking down and having a lot of issues. According to the Ministry of Defense, the engines hardly function on these tanks. They only function about 30% of the time or less before they break down. So we will probably never see the T-14 make it into Ukraine. And if it does, it'll be in such small numbers, even compared to the initial batch of Western tanks that'll be sent over, that they may as well not have an impact whatsoever. They'll be about as numerous as the T-90M at the best, and about as non-existent as nothing at the worst. So with that, I hope that does address that question fairly well. You live in a beautiful city, though, and I thank you so much for the support and being a Lee Spring Army viewer all the way from Krakow in Poland. I really wish we could take a really good look around Krakow and see what it looks like everywhere, because this looks like the historic city center with like the little park surrounding it. It looks like this is probably where the walls of the city were, and there's also this it was the walls of the city probably around where this little treed area is. What does a normal area of Krakow look like out here? Still largely looks the same. And it's even got a little trolley, like a tram. Interesting. And
Not bad, not bad.
And so with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again for the support.
All right, and up next, we have a super chat from Trister1, who puts in a $20 donation. And thank you very much, Trister, for that support. He says, check out Göttingen, Germany. I spent a year of college there.
Göttingen. Where's the college? Oh, wow, look at that. You can tell this is the old part of the city because they almost always built the old cities in like circles or something. You can always tell where the old part is. But let's see. Let's just click on the pictures and take a gander. Beautiful, beautiful. Really beautiful.
Seems like a nice place to go to college.
Wow, this is a really nice place to go to college.
I wanted to do that for a student thing, but it never worked out for some reason. Maybe I could do it in law school.
Maybe. This place is beautiful.
That is quite nice. It's like another picturesque, like German village.
Another German village. Man.
Another one.
Another one. These places are just mind-blowingly beautiful. I mean, I hate that America is put to shame architecturally because we build temporary structures that only last about 40 to 50 years over here. None of them were ever built like these, where they were built like out of like pretty much clay and some twigs, and it's like meant to last like 900 years. We've never built anything like that over here, and I wish we did, because this kind of architecture is beautiful. It's really nice, and I guess this is the actual college here, but this town is absolutely impressive as well. Dang, man, it makes me so jealous that we just don't have towns that look like this over here. Like, look at that.
That is so nice. And Trister said he used to hang out around that fountain we just looked at, so he was hanging out right in the nice part of town too.
Man, I gotta tell you, man, this is a complete world of jumpers right here. I mean, like, this is a great place. And look at this, man, this stuff just, you know. Oh, that's a war monument.
What do you think it was?
Well, I was thinking, I was like, huh, maybe that's from like the Napoleonic era. Nope, that's World War I and World War II right there. Interesting. Anyways, man, I wish we had towns like this in America. That's all I can say. I can't really go on about it, but it's a beautiful place. I'll say that. And so with that, wait, is this this is just a canal. I was about to be like, is that the old rail line? Nah, the rail line is over here, not the old one even. And what kind of service do they get here at Göttingen? Do they get the high-speed service, or do they get the commuter service? Let me go check. Oh, high speed. They get high speed.
That train kind of looks a little old.
Yeah, that's actually an ICE-1, so it's the oldest version of it. And I've never seen a German train with graffiti on it.
Oh, that is bad.
And then you see the little talents over there, the commuter ones. But let's see. I'm trying to find a picture of one of those ICE-4s. Or is it serviced by a vintage fleet? Because there are vintage fleets in Germany, and they're made up of ICE-1s, but usually you hear about the ICE 3s and 4s and things like that, but I'm not really seeing any pictures of them. So, oh, wait a minute. That's an ICE 4, which is like the most modern version. It's I believe, like the hybrid commuter high-speed version. But anyways, really cool nonetheless. And thank you so much once again for the support, Truster, and sharing that with us, because this place is absolutely beautiful. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and our next one goes to Patrick Forney, who puts in a $17 donation, and thank you very much, Patrick, for that support. He says, "Keep up the great work from a Swiss from Geneva, living in Canada."
Hey, and thank you so much for the support, Patrick. And I think you threw that in so we would check out Geneva in Switzerland. Geneva is down at the very southern tip of the Swiss border, furthest west, which is kind of wild because if you look at it, you can hardly tell where France ends and Switzerland begins. But anyways, I've never actually seen a satellite view of Geneva, so what does it look like? Huh, that's like the only... Oh, that's the Swiss Bank building. That's the Swiss Bank right there. We're going this way then. Past the clock tower. What, man?
Oh, nothing.
Oh, look, there's another Swiss Bank building on the other side.
You should go the other way.
Quick, turn around. Go this way. We can't get tied in by their incredibly good interest rates and loans. We got to go this way.
Everything makes me think about the bank.
Oh, God, it's another bank. Quick, turn around. Let's go the other way. Is Switzerland just a massive bank?
Yeah, probably so.
Probably. Hang on. We got to see if we need to turn around here. I think we're in the clear. Yeah, I think we're in the clear. Wait, did you see that woman just crawl?
I was trying to figure out what was going on.
She just beelining right from the Google Maps thing. Why? But wow, this is a nice place. I'll say that. Let's see here. Let's see here. What's this? The Grand Theater of Geneva. That is a grand theater, I'll say that.
Wow.
Dang. Wow.
Oh, wow. Very nice.
Dang. Dang. Statue? Nice. Man, I'm so jealous of Europeans, you know, because while America has all of the money and it's the economic powerhouse, the military powerhouse, all that stuff, it's just such beautiful cities over there and places. I mean, like, you know, it's just filled with it. It's a never endless supply of history, beauty, and everything else. And also, I think I've seen this thing on pictures before. No, I have not. But that kind of looks like that building in Bath, Matthew, if you know what I'm talking about. It's that bridge that crosses the Avon.
I think so.
Let me go grab it because that looks just like that thing. It's just smaller in Bath. So let me go up here to Bath. Let's see here. Where is that little thing? It's somewhere. I think it's this one. Yeah, it's this one, kind of, if you know what I mean.
I can kind of see the resemblance a little bit.
It doesn't really look like it. I'll be honest with you. It doesn't look like it. For some reason in my head, the connection was there, but it isn't anymore. By the way, Bath is a beautiful place if y'all have never been there. The last time we went, though, it seems as though Bath was going through a little bit of a downturn because a lot of the stores that were open the first time we went there weren't open the second time we went there. But it's still a beautiful town nonetheless, and I would highly recommend visiting it because it's got a lot of cool stuff in just a small little area. But anyways, with that, we are on to, you know what, the next one. But thank you so much once again for the support, Patrick, all the way from Canada, but originally from Geneva.
Yes, indeed. And up next, we have a super chat from Junebug72, who puts in a $10 donation, but no comment. But Junebug, thank you very much for your support as well. And also, it's good to see you in the live chat once again. And up next, we have a $10 super chat from Prepper Nation H, who says, "I'll sleep before you and read super chats, but I thought you'd be interested to know. Today, I watched a trainload of Patriot missile batteries heading through the U.S. Midwest toward the East Coast."
Oh? Oh, that sounds nice. And thank you for sharing that with us. I wish you had a video to show us because I would show it. But still, thank you for sharing that. Maybe we'll see a new announcement being made about Patriots, or that might just be a interior shipment from one base to another. It may just be that. But still, thank you for the support and also for sharing that. I hope we addressed that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And up next, we have a $10 super chat from G Rodeo, who says, earlier tonight, the headline UFC fight featured, this is a real name right here. I'm trying to pronounce it. Merab Dvalishvili of Georgia versus Peter Yan of Russia. Immediately after the Merab fellow's upset win, when given the microphone, he yelled "Slava Ukraine."
Russian guy gets beat to a pulp as he's blacking out. You just hear "Slow crazy" from a Georgian. It's like, oh man, humiliation, maybe. Hotel Trivago. But still, thank you for the thank you for the support and also sharing that with us. I didn't even hear about that fight, but it's great to know that the Russians are getting land blasted both on the battlefield and on the ring. And so with that, thank you once again. I hope we addressed that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And up next, we have a $10 super chat from David L., who says, thank you for what you do, and I hope to tune in tomorrow.
And thank you for enjoying what we do, and I hope you do tune in tomorrow, because tomorrow is Sunday Night Fundraiser, and we'll be killing it tomorrow. Killing it, Jerry! Killing it! And so thank you so much once again for enjoying tonight's stream. Thank you for supporting us so that way we can keep these things rolling. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And up next, we have another super chat from Trister1, who puts in a $10 donation, and this time, he says, Amerifati Squadron Equipment.
Amerifati Squadron Equipment consists of hamburger, cheeseburger, Big Mac, Whopper. And thank you so much once again for the support, Chester. We will make sure that goes towards the Amerifati squad. And thank you once again for helping us keep this thing running. I gotta say, Matthew, if you're a part of the snack squad for too long, you end up being a part of the Amerifati squad, if you know what I mean. But with that, we're on to the next one.
And up next, we have a $10 super chat from Super Action General, who says, an acquaintance of mine says that Ukraine should have given up and let Russia take the land, justifying it with survival of the fittest. And how should I respond? I said Putin is no different than Hitler.
I would have responded with, well, if it's survival of the fittest, then the United States needs to go to Russia and curb stomp them. Because that, if survival of the fittest, we would eat them alive. You know, that's just the way it works. You know, because it's always funny to me whenever people sit there and go, it's survival of the fittest, but then they also say that America shouldn't get involved. It's like, well, you know, it is survival of the fittest out there. It's every man for himself. It really is like that. But that means that we would go over there to Russia and we would obliterate them because they're weaker than us. And yet we're not. So, you know, that's a dumb statement. I would just say that. I would say, well, if that's true, then the Chinese ought to curb stomp the Russians and the Americans ought to curb stomp the Russians and take turns doing it, you know? And while I just butcher saying curb stomp. Yeah, curb stomp. That's that German way of saying it, curb stomp. But anyways, thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address that fairly well. And that's what I would say. Because there's no point saying he's literally Hitler. If they don't get that, they're lost. Just say, okay, if it's survival of the fittest, then watch little Putin boy, you know, get hung in a basement like, what was his name? Saddam did by American forces after they steamroll his crappy little country. Because it will happen. So with that, we are on to the next one. I hope we addressed that fairly well. And thank you once again for the support.
All right, and up next, we have a $10 super chat from Dan, who says, Slava Ukraine. And Hiram Slava.
And Slava Ukraini, Dan. And thank you for helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one is from Miranda Nelson, who puts in a 10 and says, Zelensky is the right man for the time.
Zelensky is the right man for the time. I would say that, in fact, he was the right guy at the hour. And so with that, thank you so much once again for the support. I would have to definitely agree with that. I don't think anyone can disagree with that. And with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again for the support and helping this channel to keep on running.
And y'all did see it. We just had a very generous super chat from Jim Toy. He puts in 100 pounds. And Jim, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to carry that. That might be a little bit too heavy. But thank you very much for the support. And he says, hi guys, and sorry I haven't been able to keep up with the streams lately. Mother's Day tomorrow. So take mom out for a slap-up meal on me.
And I thank you so much for the support, Jim. That is massive support in helping this channel to keep on running. And let me see here real quick. 1 second. Hang on, stand by.
Double check that.
For us, it's May 14th.
Oh my god.
I was so scared,
That gave me
Jim.
a mini heart attack when you just said that.
Jim, when you said that, I think, and I heard Matthew pause, and I had already freaked out when I read it. That's why I like completely ignored it for a second. I was thinking, oh my god, it's tomorrow, and I forgot. But it's Sunday, May 14th for us. It may be different for y'all in the UK though. So, whew. Okay, so I thought I completely forgot about that. I was about to feel like a real butthole tomorrow if I had. But thank you so much for the support, Jim. We will be putting that towards May 14th over here. But if it is Mother's Day tomorrow for y'all over there, Jim, Mother Day. It's just a single mother in the UK.
Mother Day.
Mother Day. Everyone just goes to you know, just this one woman in Britain, and it's just Mother Day. It's just for her. But still, I thank you so much for the support, Jim. I gotta be honest with you, I'm so happy that it's not Mother's Day over here, because I had completely forgotten about it if it would have been. So, with that, I thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address that fairly well. And when Mother's Day does come around, we will be taking her out to a nice restaurant. Or, funnily enough, our parents are not really socialites, don't really like getting out much. We usually eat at home. We'll probably have something brought to the house. So with that, thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address that fairly well. Jim said, never mind, take her out anyway. We will. And so thank you so much once again. I hope that does address that. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and up next, we have a $7 super chat from Putin will hang in the middle of the Kremlin. Best username ever.
Best.
Who says, I got banned for 24 hours by YouTube because I called someone brainless in comments on some other channel yesterday, so I'm trying my luck today. Nice people.
Some other channel? Whose other channel would that be? Pray tell? There's not many.
Do they eat a lot of snacks?
Do they call them out? Call them out. I would like to know.
Do they
Share
like
it with us.
honey?
Honey.
Peter, the horse is here.
But anyways,
that sounds so wrong. I don't even know why.
I don't know because it's literally just a stupid horse that was in the middle of the kitchen. That's what the line comes from. But anyways, I thank you so much for the support. I hate to hear that you were banned for 24 hours yesterday, but welcome back to the Lee Spring Army. And one thing I can guarantee is that you'll be safe here. And so thank you so much once again for the support. I hope we addressed that fairly well. And with that, we're on to the next one. And call them out. Call them out.
Yes, and like Svetlana said, Putin.
We got to go back. Well, hang on. This is a perfect moment now that you said that.
Wang on.
We need to go to this town here called Valdivia and see if it looks like Putin. Because if it does, I'm going to be blown away. So let's drop down here.
What, did you hear that? Curb scump.
Curb scump.
I start hearing German accents around this region of the world.
So this one's actually got some graffiti in it, but it's still not that bad. You know, it's not that bad at all. Oh, wait a minute, hang on. Armored truck for what?
Man, that's like you know, wow, I don't know if people get offended if I say that, like kind of like a short truck.
Kind of, yeah. Kind of looks like a Brinks armored car, but not that bad. But let's see here. Let's
BBVA down there.
BBVA.
I didn't know they had branches all the way down there.
So let's see. Where is Putin again? Putin's all the way up here. Actually, we went way south. Let's go up here to this town. See what it looks like. So this looks like trying to think. It actually kind of looks like a normal
Mississippi.
town. Yeah, it looks kind of like Mississippi a little bit. Weird. Let's see. And where else? Also, dang, dude, this river here. I don't know if it's like dry. No, it's not dry. But the water looks like silvery. It's like the water's made of silver. Like you just put in a bottle of water into the river and you pull out like a whole like bottle of silver, just like liquid silver. It's not even melting or anything. It's just liquid. But anyways, not a bad place. But once again, One day, Matthew, one day we're going to have to drop by the supermercado and get ourselves some groceries.
That's what every marketplace wants to become one day, is the supermercado. Sometimes they always fall short.
Sometimes they do. And Matthew, if we ever make it to the supermercado and get ourselves some groceries, I guess you could say we're going to end up being a playa grande.
Large playa.
That's a big playa. What does it look like out here?
Oh, wow.
Dang, look at that. You got a little smoky over there.
I could do without the smoky.
I could do it without the smoky, but not. Oh, look at that.
Looking through a beer, nothing like it.
Looking through the beer. It's better to live life looking through the beer than the beer looking through you. But anyways, I gotta stop being a playa around here. And so with that, we're on to the next one. But Pecan is absolutely stunning. Beautiful place. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And up next, we have a $7 super chat from Ben, who says, in Otago and Southland in New Zealand, you can see the Ukrainian flag stained with blood on 50-100 gated iron pieces displayed around the region to remind people every day to support Ukraine.
And what's the town spelled as?
It is Otago and Southland.
Otago in New Zealand. Maybe it's down here? Yeah, it's down here. It's just the whole province, actually. Dang. Let's see. But it's beautiful down here. That looks like New England, kind of. You know, with that hill with all the beautiful colored trees and the little town.
Looks like, what's that place out in Colorado that's really expensive? It's uppity and kind of like a little bit arrogant.
Colorado Springs? Fort Collins?
No, not that. No, it's not Colorado. It's that, what is that place called?
Jackson Hole in Wyoming.
Jackson Hole.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep. Where all the celebrities hang out, and then you go over there. You know, what's funny, though, Matthew, is I don't know if celebrities are watching this show, but I gotta be honest. That and also that's a beautiful place. Very interesting to hear about the flag. So that way I can make sure we address this before we move on to Jackson Hole, because you've led us down a rabbit hole now. Jackson Hole, Wyoming was really hyped up a little too much, and we went there and it didn't feel at all like it was like cool, really. You know, I'll try and show you some pictures. It's in one of the most beautiful places in Wyoming. The Tetons is just miles outside, but if I show you all a picture of this town, I'll explain what we went through going there. So, everyone was really arrogant. Everyone was a little too full of themselves in this town. Most of them were tourists as well, and that didn't really add a lot to it. Like, some guy literally went walking down the highway for like 10 miles, and he came into this hotel in front of us at the checkout, and he was like, honey, you wouldn't believe what I did today. Like, you wouldn't believe it. I walked 10 miles from up the road down here on the highway. Like, it was unbelievable. And I was like, dude.
And it was a Holiday Inn for $500 a night.
It was a Holiday Inn that was $500 a night. And I was like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? It was 10 miles. Like, anyone could do
Insanity.
10 miles. It was just, I don't know. I didn't really like this town. I loved Wyoming, though. Wyoming was really cool. It really felt like the frontier out there. Jackson, however, I mean, I could go without it. You know, and it honestly was like really the low point of the trip. I mean, like, you know, it's just like, yeah, this is like lame. Like, we went to a whole bunch of other cool places like Salt Lake City, and we went to Fort Collins. We didn't go into Denver. And we also hung out in Kansas City, Kansas. Wait a minute, no. We hung out in Kansas City, Missouri, I believe. Yeah, we did. Because we saw the National World War I Museum. We drove by it. But there was a whole bunch of cool places out there, and I was really blown away by Kansas City. But Jackson, while it was like all frou-frou and stuff, I don't know. It didn't feel right. It didn't have the right feeling. So with that, I hope that addresses that fairly well. And thank you so much once again for the support and sharing that cool story with us about New Zealand, because it is very neat to know that they do have a little monument down there to the Ukrainians like that. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again for the support.
And Tom Exman said, that's where you should be camping, $500 a night. Jeez. Yeah, when we heard $500 a night for Holiday Inn, it was time to get out.
Yeah, and
hell no.
we planned on staying there for a couple of days, but when we heard that the cheapest hotel in town was a Holiday Inn at $500 a night, we were like, it's time to drive on to the next town. Because this is...
And that was a long ways away.
That was like 12 hours away. The Midwest is wild.
That might be an exaggeration, but...
No, I think the next day, Matthew, we like drove... Yeah, we did this, man. We drove all the way from Jackson to Fort Collins because there was really nowhere else to stay.
That's right, we did.
Yeah, it was like a 15-hour drive.
And then from there, we went like all the way back to Alabama, I think.
Yeah, we drove all the way from Fort Collins all the way back to Kansas City. And then we drove the next day. This drive was all in one day. We drove all the way from Kansas City through St. Louis, down to Paducah, and then through Nashville, and then back to Alabama. Not saying exactly where.
We stopped in Huntsville, I think.
Oh yeah, we did stop in Huntsville because like we had driven like 18 hours at that point that day. It was insane. But anyways, with that, we are on to the next one. Now that is something impressive. When you go into a hotel, you should say to someone, "Honey, I just drove all the way from Kansas City, Kansas to Huntsville today. It was an 18-hour drive." Like, that is actually something that's like, oh, dang, man. It's like, are you good? Instead of walking 10 miles, it's like, well, hell, Matthew and me have walked 10 miles on, like, dozens of occasions. That's no big deal. I don't know why in the world the guy made it sound like it was a big deal to walk down the highway for 10 miles. But anyways, with that...
I just would never want to be the guy who's, like, trying to, like, you know, brag on other people. I paid $500 a night to stay at a Holiday Inn one time, peasant. It's like, no, you just got ripped off.
And the breakfast and stuff was, like, the exact same. It wasn't even an improvement off of the normal Holiday Inn. It's like, this is a ripoff.
Yeah. I had to get out of there. You saw that.
Yeah, but with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and up next, we have a $5 super chat from Thomas Kruger, who says, Healthy Eating Fund.
And thank you so much for the support, Thomas Kruger, to the Healthy Eating Fund. And I feel like we would be healthy eating if we lived in Krakow in Poland and we were eating at that McDonald's. That actually looks like healthy eating compared to normal McDonald's. So with that, thank you for the support. I hope we addressed that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Steve T, who puts in a 5 and says, Slav Ukraine, Heroes of the 21st century. Heroes of the 21st century.
And thank you so much for the support. I would definitely say they are heroes of the 21st century. And Slava and Slovakrini. And thank you so much for helping this channel to keep on running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right. And up next, we have a $5 super chat from Try and Take Alaska, who says, not true. Uh-oh, I see the name of a controversial person. Let's see. He says, let's see. So Try and Take Alaska says, not true. During the Obama administration time, Iran hacked a stealth RQ-170 drone and Shahed-171. It's a direct copy. Iran has used it to make dozens of different drones. And it was a safe super chat, actually.
Oh my God, he said it. Oh my God, Matthew, what the hell? Oh my God. I'm so scared. The chat's about to explode, man. Why'd you do it? You're telling me that this... No. You see the mesh net on the front of the intake? No. No. That thing probably has not flown. It's been produced from 2010 to the present day. Company involved with the research. There were 2 under construction as of 2014. They would have 4 in service by March of 2015. Let's see. And then one of them was shot down during the Israel-Syria incident of 2018. So I do see what you're saying there a little bit, but still, that thing looks so jank and so stupid compared to the one it's actually based off of. I would doubt that it's as capable. And you've got to remember, the Iranians don't really have the tech industry that we do, and this has a lot of computer parts inside of it. And imagine how bad off those are. But with that, I hope we addressed that fairly well, and we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Dark Warrior 137, who says, Russia throwing together random guns on their vehicles is truly a sign that they are on the edge of collapse. We call them Tankensteins.
I would agree. They are Tankensteins. Half man, half freak. Really just really just an alcoholic Russian on a normal day. But I still thank you so much for the support and helping this channel to keep on running. And I would certainly say that that is a death knell of the Russians, is when you see desperate things like that, like cobbling together something that can work a little. And so with that, we are on to the next one. But thank you once again for support and helping this channel to keep on running.
And we have a $5 super chat from Sick Lid, who says Alabamians used to eat mud due to high mineral count. I feel like that's a roast, but I'm not sure.
I don't know if that's true or not. I never heard of Alabamians eating mud. That's a way to get worms. But still, thank you for the support. Thank you for sharing that with us. And with that, I think we're on to the next interesting fact.
We prefer that fact to remain hidden, even if it's true. But anyways, up next, we have a $5 super chat from Bilbo Jenkins, who says, guys, if I were to take my winter vacation in Alabama, where should I go? Historical sites, natural beauty, and near water are all a plus. Well, Bilbo, winter in Alabama, where would you go? Probably out.
The weather's unpredictable down here in the winter. It could be 80 degrees one day and negative 20 the next. So it's really rough to prepare clothing-wise for that kind of weather. I would say maybe go down to Gulf Shores. Gulf Shores is a nice place. All the way from Gulf Shores to Fort Morgan, really nice. Another place you could go would be Dolphin Island. Not that bad over there either. I don't know what the hell these things are, but cool. I don't know what that is. Those are the nuclear waste piles that they put in the sea. Anyways, let's see. Bayou La Battery isn't bad either. Not that bad. Let's see. Another place I go is the Axis. You could always go join the Axis.
Oh my goodness, old Axis post office. I've never heard of this place.
Let's see. Where else could you go? You could always go.
You could go to Clanton.
There's peaches in Clanton, if you didn't know. Or if you've ever wanted to get the Battle of Fallujah experience, you could go to Montgomery, Alabama. I hear that they're having reenactments there 7 days a week. You could also go.
I hear that the Battle of Bakhmut may be going pretty decent for the Ukrainians, but the Battle from Montgomery is going horribly.
Oh man, it's a free for all down there right now. If y'all don't know, crime has gone crazy in Montgomery right now. It's crazy. Like, people are scared to go down into the town right now because it's like it's crazy. It's insane. I can't even explain it. You can't even put it into words. You have to drive through to see what it's about, and then you're like, oh my god, this place is going wild. And so moving on from that, another cool place to go is the Fort Benning Infantry Museum. That's technically in Georgia, but not really, because you have to drive there. You have to drive over from the Alabama side to get there. But really cool museum. I've been to this one. Great stuff. Let's see here. Here's a M2A2 Bradley. The America has so many of these things, we put them in museums. They also have a really cool entrance, as you can see. You can even see in the inside of the Bradley, the museum. You can even see some, I believe this is actually, I'm thinking it may be War of 1812 stuff right here. But correct me if I'm wrong. There's some Vietnam exhibits. I mean, this place is really cool. They even got some simulators in here. And a Harley-Davidson WLA, which is really cool. They even got...
Oh, wait a minute. Is this the place? This is the place we went in high school when we were in JRTC.
Yes. And
that's right. They had that simulator that you could like stand in the back of the Humvee, and they had like the whole like infantry like experience type deal where you shot the guns and everything.
Yeah, they did. This is the place.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That's pretty cool. I love doing that little like shooting at the guns. It wasn't really realistic, but it was pretty neat.
Yeah, it wasn't realistic, hardly at all, because it was actually broken, so you could shoot, like, right at someone and they wouldn't drop, which was incredibly annoying, because the game would sit there and say, you're taking hit, you're taking a hit, you're taking a hit, and you're just, like, shooting them, and they're shooting you, and it was kind of a little annoying. But anyways, really cool museum. I'd highly recommend going here if you haven't. Although it's in Georgia, it's kind of in Alabama, so, it counts. Sylacauga is a really cool place because, one, they have this marble pit, which is really cool to look at. But that's only cool for like 5 minutes. The real attraction inside of Sylacauga is the Bluebell Ice Cream Factory. And if you're from the South, you know about Bluebell. And they have flavors in this store that they do not sell in stores. You can only get them from the Bluebell factory itself. Really cool. We've been here before, and the ice cream is cheap. It's $1 a cup, and a cup isn't like a physical 1 cup worth of ice cream. It's like a quart of ice cream that you're getting for $1. It's unbelievable, and it's definitely worth the visit. Like, this is a really cool place to go.
Oh, that cotton candy one over there on the left, that was the one that was busting.
Oh
that one
man,
right there.
that one was unequivocally busting. I think it's
that. There you go.
There's one here that they aren't showing. It's yellow. You know, it's the one that had the little clumps in it, Matthew, that I had that was really good. It's like birthday cookie
I think
dough.
so.
Oh man, it was good. Like, y'all got to come here and try that out. Another cool place is Birmingham, although avoid the downtown a little bit, because the downtown, from what I've
dangerous.
Yeah, it's dangerous from what I've heard. But you know, you could always go to other places in town. I would say avoid that restaurant because that's just a questionable name. But you know, if it's up your alley, it's up your alley. The cool places in Birmingham are over the other side of the mountain. But you know, I don't know. It really just depends on you. There's some cool places though in Birmingham. I will say that. And then Huntsville's pretty neat because there's a lot of federal government money that goes into Huntsville because there's a lot of federal programs and companies that work hand in hand with the federal government that are up there. So you have this really cool downtown that looks sci-fi pretty much. Like, I'll show you all this little park here, the big spring park, and try and show you a picture of it. Hopefully a good picture. You see, there's so much money that this town gets that they built these little canals through the city, and not only that, the whole entire canal network is a massive koi pond. So there's a bunch of koi in it. You can feed them, and also it's just a nice place to hang out. They also have this museum of art. It's really cool. Like, it's a really neat city. I would recommend going to Huntsville, and they also have the Space Museum right out here near the Arsenal that you can go into as well, which is also really cool. And they have an entire Saturn V leaned onto its side and disassembled into its stages that you can look at, and also some real artifacts from the Apollo program. So, incredibly cool. I would highly recommend going here as well. There's a lot of places in Alabama. It's just that I can't really recommend a single one. So pretty cool, nonetheless. And I hope you visit here sometime around. And so with that, I hope that does address that question fairly well. And with that, we're on to the next one.
And up next, we have a $5 super chat from Andy Schrum, once again, who says, search for Pez dispenser, ban South Park clip. You'll get it in 9 seconds flat. Ducks and takes cover from sniper fire.
Your voice cut out right when you said Pez dispenser, like the name of the Pez dispenser thing.
Banned from South Park clip. You'll get it in 9 seconds flat. Ducks and takes cover from sniper fire.
And what's the Pez dispenser, though? What's it called?
Bobby Kennedy Pez dispenser.
Bobby Kennedy. Oh, now I remember what happened to him. He got shot in the kitchen. Let's see. Pez dispenser. Oh, okay. Okay. Now I understand it. All right. So thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that addresses that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you for helping this channel to keep on running.
All right, and up next, we have a $5 super chat from Gustavo Palos, who says, if you like Krakow City Center, you should check the Wawel Castle and the riverside next to it. I live in Krakow.
Oh, that's cool. Let's check out the castle. And let's see it. Dude, that's cool. It's like multiple centuries of buildings built onto each other. You know, like some, I would say like maybe 15th century and then some Baroque period stuff built onto it. That is really cool looking, actually. That's unique. And you can see the castle walls right there and the buildings inside of it. You can tell that some of this was definitely built after castles became obsolete, like these buildings here. They don't look like they would have served well for fortification, but they do look sick. Someone get that sick puppy! Every time I say sick, I always think about like being physically sick instead of sick as in cool. But I like the castle. This is a nice castle for sure. I'd say actually it would it's way better than the Kremlin, if you know what I mean. At least it doesn't have the Kremlin gremlin living in it.
Yeah, facts.
Facts. Solid facts. And there's the river right there.
That looks nice. Kind of looks like Huntsville a little bit.
Yeah, it kind of does. I was thinking that. I was like, huh, it kind of looks like Huntsville. I was like, hopefully Matthew will say that. And then he said it. Now I have an excuse to say it. But still, beautiful place. I love the castle, and I love the riverside as well. I gotta tell y'all, like, when Bilbo asked us what there was to see in Alabama, you Europeans put us down over here because y'all have such nice stuff everywhere that, compared to the entire state of Alabama, Krakow has more going for it than all of Alabama does. And that's really kind of sad to me because that's what every single state in the United States is like. It's just like McDonald's, Wendy's, Publix, Walmart, hotels, same hotels everywhere. And that's it. There's really no attractions in any towns that aren't older.
Say the buzzword.
Say what?
Corporate America.
Yeah, corporate America. Corporate America. It's time to pull a George Carlin. You ever gone to the mall lately? Or I'm kidding. I'm kidding with that. But anyways, thank you so much once again for the support. Really cool to hear you live in Krakow, and also beautiful place. And the Vistula looks quite nice. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you so much once again for the support. And it seems like Matthew got a good laugh out of the whole George Carlin thing.
Yeah, I didn't even know what you're talking about, but I laughed anyway. But up next, we have a $5 super chat from Angel, who says, look up, let's see here. Look up woman gives funny interview after a fire on YouTube. That crazy song was basically her interview, and watch till the end. It's hilarious. And I think I know who you're talking about, Alan, and also had to reread it because I thought I saw something else the first time, but my mind was playing tricks on me.
And I thank you so much for the support, and I would take a look at it, but from what I understand, there are some words in that video that YouTube is not a big fan of, because I have seen that before.
Facts.
And if we showed that on here, we may get into some big boo-boo with YouTube. So with that, I thank you so much once again for the support. I hope that does address why we can't watch it, but I do know exactly what you're talking about. And so with that, we are on to the next one, and thank you once again for the support.
And the next one goes to Streb, who puts in a $5 donation and says, take a question from TTC MZX. He has problems with his super chats. And Streb, thank you for donating that to TTC MZX. And we will get to his next line. So thank you very much for your support. And moving on to that super chat from TTC MZX, we have a 5. And I was looking for the question in the live chat. I don't see it. And I don't see it anywhere. I see the last message that was sent. TTMCZX, please send me your question.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait for the question. So that I thank you so much for the support. I've been told that there is a link in my Discord by Rob Bertram. Let me take a look at that real quick, and let me see if I can show it on stream. Oh! Okay, it's the link to that video that we can't show. Dagnabbit! I do thank you for the support, though, and also sharing that link with us. Sadly, can't watch it, though, because if we do, there are some words in it that YouTube is not a big fan of, and we'll get executed. We won't even get our knees taken out. We'll just be straight up executed. So with that, we are on to the next one. But thank you for sharing that link with us.
Yes, indeed. And up next, we have a $2 super chat from Dupper Bob, who says, Slava Ukraine.
And thank you so much for the support, Dopper Bob. Of course, never missing a chance to support this channel and Slava Ukraine. And thank you for helping us to keep this thing running. And with that, we are on to the next one.
And the next one goes to Dark Warrior 137, who puts in a 2 and says, for the Lag Spring Army Fund.
And thank you so much for the support to the Lag Spring Army, and thank you once again for the support. And so with that, I hope that does address that fairly well, and we are on to the next one.
All right. And we are moving on to our live chat questions. And up first, of course, we have the Morse code decoders of the stream, Rumpelstiltskin, C-Fay, Mark Hodges, Cliff Simonson, JP's RCs, and tonight, Paul Scholes, who says the Morse code says, call those Russians confetti because they cover the whole place with bodies and trash.
And that's the sound of money. And of course, y'all got the Morse code message correct. That is the message. And call them confetti because they're just all over the place and they're littering it. And so with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. Thank y'all for doing that. And with that, we are on to the next one. Thank you all for deciphering that Morse code message day in and day out ever since we started running those Morse code messages over 300 days ago. And so with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and up next, we have a question from Street70433, who says, is it true that Prighozin wants to run for president of Ukraine?
Maybe. He's not a Ukrainian citizen, so it'll be really hard for him. But maybe if they took it over, I think that may be his aim or his goal. I don't really know. But with that, I hope that addresses that fairly well, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and the next one goes to Mr. Norton 2020, who says, Enforcer, could you brief us on the drone fundraiser status tonight?
Good question. One thing I would like to clarify is that it is not a fundraiser. Our fundraiser is run on Sunday, and it's through the YouTube Give platform. The drone fund support, Super Chats, came in after I started talking about how we were going to send a drone to a unit, and then folks wanted to send in Super Chats, since we were going to buy those with our own funds, to support us in getting them that drone. It's not a fundraiser per se, and I do want to try and make that as clear as possible, because I don't want people to get confused that we're running a fundraiser now through Super Chats, and then thinking that all of that's going to be accounted for and presented and everything, because it probably isn't. That's what the YouTube Give fundraisers are for. But from what I understand, I think people have sent in hundreds of dollars, I don't know the exact count, in support for the drone. If I'm correct.
Say that one more time.
I think folks have sent in hundreds of dollars in support of the drone.
Yes, that is true.
So,
and I was trying to look at something in the chat. I had my mic muted, so I was talking, but you couldn't hear me.
So I hope that answers the question fairly well, but I want to make this extremely clear. Fundraisers are run on Sundays, and they're run through YouTube Give. That's how we fundraise and support Ukrainians overseas, and Super Chats are meant to support the channel. We can't ever try and murk those waters up, and sadly they were murked up a little bit, because once we do that, then it starts to become confusing. Or am I sending, like, people start asking the question, am I sending in Super Chats to support them behind the scenes, or are these Super Chats meant to support Ukraine? And then, you know, that creates a whole can of worms that becomes a bit of an issue, really. But with that, I hope that addresses that question fairly well. I hope that clarifies what that is. I think that was more so people just liked hearing that we were sending a drone to Ukraine, and so they started to send in Super Chats to us, since we were buying them with our own funds. But with that, we are on to the next one. This is not going to become a normal thing, by the way. This is a one-time thing, you know, like with people sending in Super Chats. We don't really want anyone to do that. Of course, we thank everyone who has, because y'all are helping us to mitigate the cost of getting the thing outright. But we don't want to make it a normal thing that we run stuff in, like, projects through Super Chats, because then that really starts to make things confusing as to what's supporting Ukraine and what's not supporting Ukraine, and helping to support us. And so with that, we are on to the next one. I hope that answers that fairly well.
All right, and we did get that Super Chat from TTCMZX, who puts in a 5 and says, do you have an Orange Man impression?
Yes, I do. I have one of the best. It's one of the greatest. It's the best in the world, and I gotta thank you so much once again for the support, because nobody does it better than Rosie O'Donnell sitting down in that truck, driving that truck across the country. It's it's the worst truck I've ever seen. Absolutely terrible. And so with that, I thank you so much once again for helping this channel to keep on running. I hope that does address that fairly well. And with that, we're on to the next one. But thank you once again.
And up next, we have a $10 Super Chat from Tom X-Man, who says, for the drone.
And thank you for the support, Tom X-Man, for the drone, and helping this channel to keep on running. And when we get that drone, that will definitely help us to get it. And so with that, thank you once again. I hope that does address that fairly well. And with that, we are on to the next one.
All right, and we have another Super Chat, this time from Amara Fatty. Hey, he made that honey badger picture from that, like, AI art generator. I forgot the name of it. I wish I could think of the name of it. It's going to bother me now. But he put in a $10 Super Chat and said, Law School Fund.
And thank you for the support, Amerifatti, to the Law School Fund, and helping us to go to law school, because we're rounding out our last. This is something funny I remember seeing a bot say. Actually, it wasn't a bot, it was just a hater. They said, they're lying to people about going to law school. They've said they've been going to law school this whole time. No, we haven't. We've been saying we're rounding out college and going to law school in the fall. But I do thank you for supporting.
It's like, what difference would it make anyway?
Yeah, it's like we're in college anyways. It's like, what the hell does that even matter? But still, I thank you for the support of Mary Fatty in helping us to get to law school and eventually afford it. Because we have been admitted, it's just a matter of getting in there now. And so with that, we are on into the next one. And thank you once again. Also, Matthew, Paula McDonald said, I wish Orange Man could hear this. Okay, I'm gonna say this. If he did hear that, he would sit there and he would say,
I don't even know who that guy is. He's somebody, but I don't really know who he is.
And then he would say,
have you seen his ratings? They're absolutely terrible. He doesn't get any likes. He doesn't get any views. And the internet's all about views and likes. And I've heard that his channel's not...
like, I'm being honest. Homeschool much? Anyways, for that, we're on to the next.
All right, and up next, we have a question from the live chat once again, which goes to Just Mary, who says, does Putin have cancer? And what stage is he at? Do you think his demise will be soon?
He is cancer. Just kidding. He, from what we understand, does have cancer, but we don't know when he's going to die because everyone thought he was going to die last year, and he's still here. So I don't know when he's going to die, but he does have cancer. So with that, I hope that answers that question, and we are on to the next one.
All right, and up next, also, Fatty said Mid-Journey. That's what I was trying to think of, and thank you, because I felt like, when you start getting a little, like, higher in age and you start, like, forgetting things, yeah, and everybody's, like, so desperate to remember, like, the name because they're wanting to make sure they're not going too crazy. That's what I felt like. Mid-Journey, that's right, I almost forgot. Thank you, young whippersnapper.
They sit there, Matthew, they'll be talking about, so let me tell you the story about the time that the German killed my friend. We were at, what is it? Patty Calais? No, it wasn't Patty Calais. It was Patty Calais. No, it wasn't, because Charlene used to call it Pasty Calais.
Well, no, just move on. Just move on. No,
I can't move on. But it's always interesting. I always try and help out with that, though, because, I bet that does not feel great. Like, when you sit there and you're, like, getting aware that you may be forgetting things and how things went.
Well, hell, I just did just now, and I'm 22.
Yeah, so whenever I hear that, I'm never, like, one to go, oh, look at that. I'm always like, well, I think it may have been Patty Calais or something like that. But anyways, we are on to the next one.
All right. And up next, we have that $50 super chat from Arnie YDT. Very generous, Arnie, and thank you very much. He says, for the drone, on the down low. But not really, wink. Laughy face, lol. I'm just messing with you. Use it to your liking, but hopefully the drone lols.
And thank you for the support, Arnie. And also, that worried me right there, because this is one big thing to me. We've made sure throughout the entire history of this channel to divide things as clearly as we can. I mean, like, if you don't think there's, like, a clear divide in between fundraisers and super chats, apparently you're just lying to yourself, because we try and make it as clear as possible. We always make it clear that the Sunday fundraisers are to support Ukraine, super chats help us. And we want to make sure that no matter what, that divide keeps clear, because I've always said things about keeping an eye out on channels where you just send them money personally, and then you don't really know what happens to it. That's one thing that I have a huge knock against. And so when I brought up the drone story, I didn't think that people were going to start sending in super chats for that drone. And then it kind of started to turn it a little bit into a fundraiser. And of course, I want to make it clear, we are going to get them this drone. Whether people send in enough super chats for us to afford the drone off of super chats allocated for the drone alone or not. The original plan was to just buy it and then send it over there and make a video about it. So that way we could be like, hey, look, we helped them out because they're great folks. We didn't ever want to make it to where it was like a fundraising project, because then we start falling into the category that I say people ought to be scrutinized for, which is when someone says, hey, send money personally to me, and then I'll distribute it to other people. Because, we've asked some of these people to help us in this aim of getting a drone to the 231st that say that they take money in support of Ukraine and then they distribute it to people who need it on the front lines. We've asked them to help us get a drone for these people, and they just outright told us no, and then gave a reason that really threw into question whether they're helping anyone out or not. Not trying to call them out or anything. We've kind of did that a lot in the past, but that was really shocking to both Matthew and me to see at least in this one instance for what we were asking for, that it was true. Like the support just wasn't there. But that's one thing we always want to make very clear. Where your funds are going, whether it's supporting us, whether it's supporting Ukraine, and if people send in super chats, and I know that you're just joking around with that, but I want to make this as clear as possible, even if I have to repeat it a million times. We want to make sure that if you send in support to this channel, it's helping us, and if you send in support through a fundraiser, it is helping Ukraine. We never want anyone to have to ask or question, what is my money really being used for? We want to make it explicitly clear where it is going. So with that,
in other words, Enforcer's trying to say we're not trying to run a slush fund here.
Yeah, we're not trying to run a slush fund or anything. We want to make it as transparent and truthful and clear as possible. So with that, I hope that does address that fairly well. I know you're just kidding with us, Arnie, but you gave me an opportunity to go over it again. I want to make it as clear as possible, just so that way there is no confusion and it was clearly stated. But with that, thank you once again for the support. It will go towards the show. Thank you once again for helping this channel to keep on running.
Yes, indeed. And up next, we have 3 more super chats. The first one is from Dakota the Bear, who puts in a $5 donation and says, with Western tanks, mainly defense spec based, rather than made for attack like Russian tanks, how will Ukraine mainly deploy them?
And he's saying Western tanks are mainly made for defense?
Yes.
I would beg to differ. A tank's a tank. There's nothing that inherently makes a tank a defensive vehicle. It's an offensive vehicle. That's what its original design is. That's what it's made to do. That's why Abrams and Leopards emphasize speed, armor, and firepower, because those are the 3 main things you need in an offensive. You don't need that in a defensive. A tank can be slow if it's defending. It doesn't have to move as much as you have to on an offensive. I would have to say it's an offensive vehicle through and through, and I think they'll be using them incredibly well. That's what they're designed for. And if there's any question are they really offensive vehicles? Just look at the Gulf War and how quickly U.S. armored units moved then, and how well they did against the quote-unquote offensive tanks of the Soviet Union that the Iraqis were using, and that shows you that Western tanks are certainly offensive vehicles for sure. So with that, I hope that does address that question fairly well. Thank you so much once again for the support, and with that, we are on to the next ones.
And up next, we have a $5 super chat from Streb once again, who says, Steam game fun. And apparently must have seen the Steam thing come across the screen at some point.
Hey, thank you so much for the support to the Steam Game Fund. I do enjoy myself some games. I've built up quite the collection over the years. And also, it's one of the only things I can really do after these streams in, because I only have enough time to really just move on to the next thing on the computer. I really do enjoy Hell Let Loose these days. I actually met a fan who watches this channel on Hell Let Loose a while ago. That was so cool. It'd be my night after the stream. And he actually said, and some people have said before, maybe the LSA ought to make an official LSA server on Hell Let Loose. I don't know about that, because that would be another level of management that we have to do, but I thought it was cool. I thought it was really a neat idea. But with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again for the support.
All right, and up next, goodness, we have another 50 from Arnie YDT. Crazy. Thank you very much. Arnie says, with the cool glasses, for your guys' slush fund. Great job on the live chat, and keep up the awesome job. And this super chat right here is going to be used as propaganda by all the other hater channels that don't like this channel. They're going to be like, look.
Call him out. He begs his viewers for money, although he doesn't have a whole bunch of people buying memberships to talk in the live chat. He's begging people for money. Call him out. He's a clickbaiter. But still, I thank you so much for the support, Arnie. And thank you for enjoying the stream and helping us to keep the awesome work going. But to bring you guys slush fund, even in a joke, that does not sound good. But still, thank you.
Now, that dude's over there with his notepad scribbling this down.
Oh yeah,
slush fund.
Yeah, he's gonna be. Next thing you know, Matthew, that channel's gonna have a built-in icy machine in the background, for slushies. But anyways,
tomorrow he's sponsored by Icy and the polar bears on the screen.
Oh man. Next thing you know, he starts forcing people to send in super chats with that exact same kind of wordage.
Yes.
But anyway, so we're on to the next one. And thank you once again for the support. And I hope we addressed that fairly well, Arnie.
Yes, thank you very much, Arnie, again for that support. And up next, we have a 5 from Madison Music Teacher, who says, my dad who served in Vietnam said Ukraine is like Korea and Vietnam, the pressure point between democracy and communism/fascism, and how we push back.
And thank you for the support. I would agree with that for the large part. It is kind of working off of a similar policy, a similar scenario. This one, I would say, is a little bit more true than, I guess you could say, the domino effect of the Cold War, because the domino effect of the Cold War was really loose, unlike now, because we know that the Russians have a clear intent of either conquering Ukraine and making it a part of their country and then extending that on into the Baltics, Belarus, and even into Central Asia, unlike the Cold War, where it was just kind of like loose influence in creating satellite states. And then those satellite states sometimes just went haywire, like China, Vietnam, and kind of North Korea. Really, everyone in the Cold War went haywire after they went communist. None of them really joined sides with each other. They all hated each other as much as they did beforehand when they weren't communist. So with that, I thank you for the support, and I'd certainly agree. It is similar in that regard, at least in the idea of the domino effect, but this time I think it's far more real than it was in the Cold War. And so with that, we are on to the next one. And thank you once again for the support and sharing that little tidbit with us.
All right, and we have a $5 super chat once more from TTCMZX, who says the final yeehaw for the night.
I guess that was the final yeehaw of the night. And so with that, thank you for the support. I hope that does address that fairly well. And have we run out of super chats again, Matthew?
Yes, we have.
All right, and so with that, we are on to the second to last live chat from the night.
All right, and this question goes to Danny Coco, who says, is the Battle of Bakhmut like Aachen and Stalingrad?
I would say it's a lot like Aachen. It's a bloody, slow battle. But unlike Aachen, I think, hang on, I think the Battle of Bakhmut has lasted longer than Aachen. Oh, hell yeah, it lasted way longer than Aachen. Aachen only lasted 20 days, and we called this the Western Front Stalingrad, and this only lasted 20 whole days. 2,000 Americans were killed, and 5,000 Germans were killed and wounded, along with 7,000 additional casualties for the United States, not including the killed. Well, actually 7,000 total, and then 5,000 killed or wounded for the Germans, with another 5,600 captured. So...
You know what happened when they got wounded in this war?
What?
In this battle? Ah, my back is aching.
My back is aching. No, it's aching, you idiots. But anyways, thank you so much for pointing that out. It's probably a lot like well, actually, it's not like Aachen. I would say it's Stalingrad. It's moved on to another plane because Aachen doesn't even compare. And that was a bloody battle for the United States in the Second World War. And so with that, I hope that does address that question. Now it's time to get to the final one of the night. And so, who is the lucky last person who asked... Oh, let me just start that over again. I butchered that. Who is the lucky last person who asked the lucky last question of the night?
And that viewer is I Am Gift Bearer, who says, does Ukraine have hypersonic missiles? Maybe they can counter the ones Russia fires at them by doing the same.
Does Ukraine have hypersonic missiles?
Yes.
No. Hypersonic missiles are fairly new, and we've only seen the Russians get them in previous years, and I believe the Chinese also developed one of their own. I think the United States is currently working on the development of one, although it's not really needed, but still, we're working on one. But the Ukrainians do not have one. They would most likely have to rely on getting one either from the Chinese, which is incredibly unlikely, if not impossible, or getting a brand new one from the United States, which is also incredibly unlikely, if not impossible. So they don't have one, and sadly they can't use them against the Russians for that reason. And so with that, I hope we answered that last question of the night fairly well. And with that, we have reached the end of tonight's stream. With 3,316 people still watching, 3 hours, 33 minutes, and 40 seconds in. Absolutely unbelievable. And I got to thank every single one of y'all so much for sticking through the question segment, enjoying all the jokes and laughs we've had during it, and also hearing all of our answers to the questions that have been sent in. Of course, I have to thank everyone so much for all of the interesting questions and all of the support that's been sent in, because it helps this channel to keep on running. And without y'all's support, it wouldn't have been possible. And also without y'all's questions and without y'all's just general ranting and raving about the channel, we wouldn't feel as inspired to run it. And so thank you all so much once again for watching. If y'all did enjoy, make sure to hit the like, comment, and subscribe buttons, because that helps this channel to keep on running. And thank you all so much once again for helping this thing to keep on the roll. And so with that, we will see you all tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, because tomorrow isn't a normal night of news. It's the Sunday fundraiser again. It's almost like we had one a week ago. For some reason, what always follows after the Saturday night stream is a fundraiser. It's kind of like it's a Sunday fundraiser or something. But I thank you all so much for coming tonight. Make sure to show up tomorrow for the fundraiser. We're going to blow that thing out of the park as normal. And thank you all so much once again for watching. Good night, good luck, take care, and of course, Slava Ukraini.
Oh, and remember to put your time for tonight. Oh, Pukan, Pukan.
Pukan.
Yes.
The Leaf Spring Army sends its regards.
Усміхнеться доля, згинуть наші вороженьки, як роса на сонці, запануємо ми, браття, у своїй сторонці. Душу й тіло ми положим за нашу свободу і покажем, що ми браття козацького роду. Душу й тіло ми положим за нашу свободу.